Part 264. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2642. I had a rest yesterday evening, but ended up traveling directly to past midnight, so I apologize for interrupting the update yesterday. If Jia Yan said that he was a black god, others would probably regard him as a lunatic and a laughing stock. No matter how strong he is, if he can be compared with the gods, or even the black god who created the origin of this world, he is still far behind. Even the world's advanced civilization in the interstellar age still firmly believes that there are two most basic gods in the world. That is the white god and the black god. Among the two major gods, the white god is the greatest god in the world. In the myths and legends of some civilizations, he is supreme, and even the black god worships under him as a minor god. But in most civilizations, although the black god occupies a small share of the origin of the world, he is one of the supreme gods on the same level as the white god. Therefore, no matter how powerful others are, saying that they are the black god is just like saying that they are one of the origins of the world. It is nothing more than becoming a laughing stock. Jia Yan is not stupid, and now is not the time to care about names. He didn't have time to reveal his identity. It's just, that young man. While Jia Yan was waiting for the Wuxian faction to reply, he looked deeply at the sky. The appearance of this young man illustrates a problem. That is, Bai Shen, that is, White Dolphin's side is indeed not idle either, and the progress is not even slower than mine. It may be faster, because his manpower is directly beside him. Under the division of labor and cooperation, it is natural that the efficiency is higher than his own. Have you already reached out to this kind of planet? Jia Yan is not afraid of the white dolphins and their current progress, it is just that they may attract their attention too early. Now he is not without the strength to fight. Even if the body that traveled to this world is not strong enough, the most basic method of fighting is nothing more than exposing the true body and smashing the whole world to pieces. But it's better not to be like that. Senior, you want us to join you, but you don't even want to tell me your name. This makes us feel uneasy. The leader of Wu Tian sect was afraid that something had occurred to him, so he found a new way to express the problem of himself and others. To put it bluntly, he was still hesitant. My name is taboo. It doesn't matter. Although you should have known it from them, I will tell you one more time. My name is Jia Yan. You can call me Mr. Jia. Yes, Mr. Jia, then, Mr. Jia, what you call giving us a piece of the sky, do you mean to let me wait for the immortal cultivators to regain our previous glory? Yes, it's even more than that. In short, you don't need mother-in-law or mother-in-law. If you are willing, you can do it. If you don't, I won't force you. Jia Yan was a little impatient. He wants these local sects, firstly, because he really needs some reliable subordinates. The second reason is because the word immortal cultivator has a unique charm for Jia Yan, otherwise he would not have established an ambiguous sect like the Yin-Yang sect in the outer starry sky. Rather than saying that Jia Yan was giving them a chance, it was more that he was a little playful about it. The leader of Wuxian sect is still hesitant. He turned his attention to several elders, but saw that the elders were looking at their noses and hearts, as if the old gods were there and refused to bear such pressure. Otherwise, if it causes a big disaster in the future, they will not be able to evade responsibility. It's up to today's sect leader to shoulder the responsibility. Wow, you are so annoying. Little Adisha is not as annoying as you. Adisha couldn't help it first and jumped up. She came here to have fun, not to see a group of old men and young women who seemed to be hesitant. How uncomfortable it was. The leader of the Wuxian sect was stimulated by Adisha's performance. Thinking about it, recruiting them with such a terrifying strong man was also a way out for the Wuxian sect. Otherwise, if this continues, it will only be a matter of time before the Goda sect is gradually swallowed up by the Xinbei forces. Well, Mr. Jia, from now on, the Wuxian sect will follow your lead. Jia Yan didn't say anything, and Adisha jumped up and down. There's Adisha, there's Adisha. Well, there is also Lady Adisa, who also expects you to follow your lead. Seeing that Adisha was not too big or too young in front of Jia Yan, the head of Wuxian Gate thought that this little girl might be an important person around Jia Yan, or a relative such as his sister, so he did not dare to underestimate her. Aditha felt comfortable now, and bounced back to the team of descendants of believers, with her small breasts standing proudly, as if she had really become Adisha-sama. Very good, you made the right choice, Jia Yan nodded. Adisha added there, you will know in the future that today's choice is very powerful. Adisha and her brother are both very powerful. No one knew how to respond, so they could only smile and nod in agreement. It must be powerful, otherwise how could it make the entire Wuxian sect lose their temper? However, they don't know whether they can make the sect of immortal cultivators rise again on this planet. Everyone is feeling uneasy. I won't do anything more today. I'll leave you with this practice method. I'll come back in a week. Then I'll see you all rise to an average level. A task will be given to you in a week. In addition, Jia Yan's voice was light and clear, and he continued the above words, you will send a few people now to hand over my cultivation technique to several other sects with the same reputation as yours. Don't hide it. Do you understand? This. The leader of Wuxian sect was shocked, and confused by Jia Yan's words. It is naturally good to leave behind the skills. The skills left by such a strong man will definitely shock the past and the present. But the test results will come in a week later, and everyone is required to level up by 1 level on average. This is too exaggerated. It is said that the technique is left behind, but no matter how good the technique is, it is not such an exaggeration, right? It is possible for the juniors to make great progress with the help of shocking skills. It is not difficult for a few guys at the lowest level to increase by 1 or 2 levels within a week. Can everyone be averaged? This includes a group of old guys like them who have been stuck for hundreds of years. How is this possible? If an old guy can't improve his level, doesn't that mean he's dragging down the average level of the juniors? When the leader of Wu Tian sect thought of this, cold sweat broke out on his forehead. But after listening to the first paragraph of what Jia Yan said, he even forgot about the previous conditions and was dumbfounded. He thought that Jia Yan's technique, which was so exaggerated, would definitely be hidden. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan's second paragraph asked them to spread the technique widely and hand it over to other sections. Yes. So is this skill a powerful skill? In addition, Master Jia, is he playing tricks on them? If the skills given by several sects are fake after seeing them, I am afraid he will have a deeper distaste for the Wuxian sect. Master Jia, I wonder what your intention is. The leader of Wuxian sect endured his fear and finally asked hesitantly. My intention? It's very simple. I want your entire world of immortality to improve its strength, and then use it for me to seize the entire planet as soon as possible. I don't have much time. Jia Yan's grand reply made Wuxian sect master's head spin. You said simply, take over this planet as soon as possible? If it were so simple, my sect of immortal cultivators would not be compressed to such a small living space today. Moreover, Jia Yan's rhetoric is that after taking over this planet, there will be other things in the future. Doesn't it mean that they will always work for Jia Yan in the future? That's a good idea. The leader of Wuxian sect thought a lot. But when I looked back and savored it, I smiled bitterly and shook my head. Let alone the future, he felt that it would be almost impossible to capture this planet quickly. The power of those who believe in the White God sect is earth-shattering on this planet, and unlike the extremely weak planets, on this planet, there is the strongest combat power of those who believe in the White God sect. The person with the strongest combat power is what Jia Yan calls the venerable level. From the perspective of the immortal cultivator sect, the venerable level is a monster that has reached the level of God transformation, or even the Mahayana level. They were able to survive under the hands of this powerful man, probably because he was unwilling to do it himself. Now that Jia Yan has integrated the forces of the immortal cultivating sex on the entire planet, this being will probably take action himself. So let alone the future, this planet cannot be captured so easily. Humph, think about it carefully. A person like you is not qualified to be the leader of Wuxin section. Do you want me to replace you with someone else? Jia Yan finally became a little annoyed. To him, the affairs of the Wuxin sect are just ordinary recruitment, so he doesn't want to waste too much time and energy. He didn't expect that the people of the Wuxin sect have matured with age and have been thinking about things for so long. Like some young lady, how can a cultivator be so righteous that he would be so angry that his blood would be splashed 5 steps away? No, Mr. Jia, all of us in the Wuxin faction agree with your request and words. We will do whatever you ask us to do. The leader of my field sect felt a chill all over his body, and he quickly raised his hand in response. He figured out a lot in an instant. Just like Jia Yan said, it doesn't matter if he doesn't agree. To make the Wuxin sect comply, all they need to do is replace a group of senior leaders. Whether he agrees or not does not affect others' ideas at all. It's better to protect your own life and just do whatever you say. Besides, since Mr. Jia has such ambitions, maybe he has this kind of strength. Anyway, just take it one step at a time. The leader of Wuxin sect finally compromised. I'll come back in a week. Editha, let's go. Jia Yan shook his sleeves and walked away. All the heads of the Wuxin sect quickly clasped their fists and bowed behind them. Jia Yan walked up to Edisha, who jumped into his arm and hugged him. Behind him, a group of descendants of black believers also came to Jia Yan's side. After this set of actions, everyone saw only the 20 or so people in front of them, who disappeared from sight with a swipe of sound. This move is really amazing. Is it the legendary movement of the universe that is only seen in cultivators? It's amazing. This move alone shows that Senior Jia's cultivation is astonishing. I don't know if I can compete with the Zinbatian cult monster in this planet. The leader of the Wuxin sect and the elders at the rear saw Jia Yan's collective teleportation ability, and immediately became silent, and they all regarded Jia Yan as a heavenly being. But they are still looking up to the monster who sits in the Batian sect. Because this monster is not an ordinary strong man, even if they, the cultivating sects, are not afraid of demons or ghosts, they are absolutely afraid of this old monster. No wonder the immortal cultivators. Just because this monster exists, he is an absolute strongman who once killed the top masters in the entire world of immortality with one person. Therefore, it is natural that they do not believe in Jia Yan, the latest master. Wow, that's so fun. That Wuxin faction is so scary. Jia Yan at the other end led Edisha and others back to the hotel in just a few seconds. The descendants of the black man, who all believed in it, were still a little shocked when they looked at the familiar scenes around them, and they couldn't help themselves for a long time. They went out so fluently that the Wuxin sect, which was famous throughout the world of immortality, was suppressed. Why does it look a bit fake? I'm afraid it's a fake Wuxin sect. For this group of people at the bottom, there is not much difference between the immortal cultivation sect and the Batian section anyway, they are both behemoths. But today, their Lord Jia Yan led everyone to the Wuxin sect and subdued the sect. Is strength such a good thing? All the descendants of those who believe in blackness look at their palms. The palms of the hands of those who had been defeated before were still trembling. Today is the day they become famous, and it may also be the most glorious day in many people's lives. From now on, they will take off the hat of being inferior to pigs and dogs as the descendants of those who believe in evil, and embark on the road of becoming strong. Edisha, it is said that there is a very powerful venerable on this planet. You are also a venerable in strength now. So I will give you a small task. Before the final battle breaks out, you should practice hard and wait until the decisive battle breaks out. When the time comes, how about you dealing with that venerable? Isn't it very challenging? Jia Yan thought of the monster that the Wuxian faction and others were afraid of. Then he thought of something and said directly to Edisha with a smile. Wow, wow, Edisha beats him well. Edisha must be better than him. Okay, Edisha beats him. Edisha's eyes lit up. She was drooling, especially when she thought about the scene of her little brat, alone, facing off against such a strong master. How fun that would be. Jia Lin will definitely be envious after seeing it. She was moved. If people from the Wuxian faction knew, the monster they thought even Jia Yan could not defeat was now only regarded as a small task by Jia Yan, and was handed over to everyone. Although it was also somewhat mysterious and powerful, in the eyes of everyone, if Edisha, who is nothing more than a brat, takes care of it, these people will probably be dumbfounded and then yell that Jia Yan is mentally ill. It's too childish to want a kid to deal with such a terrifying existence. However, it seems that for Jia Yan, this kind of guy is really just a small target for little Edisha to practice with. Just like the big boss on Earth who regards 100 million as a small goal, Jia Yan and Edisha have this confidence. Others can't understand it, that's their problem. There is no way Jia Yan and Edisha are also big bosses, but at different levels. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2643. Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky novel, find the latest chapter. I would like to thank Master Jia Yan and Master Edisha for giving us a new life. As soon as they arrived at the training ground outside the hotel, more than 24 descendants of the Black Believers knelt down with a roar. They are not stupid. What they saw and heard in Wuxian sect just now made them feel like they were in a dream. And they deeply felt how terrifying the fighting skills that Jia Yan seemingly taught them at random were. Not even the senior disciples of the Wuxian sect can defeat them. This is just the result of 1 week of training. What terrible data! And being able to train their level of combat power, I'm afraid Master Jia Yan is far beyond what they originally imagined. So how can I not be excited and grateful? That's not necessary. I brought you back with the intention of making use of your work. If you want to repay me, then work hard for me in the days to come. There was an expression on Jia Yan's eyebrows that he didn't like this kind of behavior. Yes, we will definitely live up to Lord Jia Yan's high expectations. And Edisha? Well, we will definitely live up to Lady Edissa's high expectations. It's great, it lives up to Editha's high expectations. Edisha started making jokes again, which extinguished Jia Yan's intention of making some bold words. He crossed again and entered the space. As for Edisha, let her play by herself. For Jia Yan, the use of this group of subordinates is not to use themselves, but to establish an appearance for others to see in the future, so how they are trained has no impact on Jia Yan. The Wuxian faction is different. The Wuxian sect is a major sect of cultivating immortals. It not only has great fighting power on this planet, but also has a profound influence. In the future, if the Wuxian sect is on his side, the other major sects may not be left behind either. Then Jia Yan's first major plan to temporarily implement his grand plan on this planet can be considered completed. But Jia Yan was in the space and stepped out of the space. His brows were furrowed. The appearance of the person who is suspected to be the White Dolphin means that my contact with them is imminent. I have to speed up the process of searching for other subordinates. Jia Yan has not forgotten that when he arrives in this world, his strongest assistant is not the local forces and combat power, but the truly strong ones he brought. Those guys have the strength of the galaxy level and the intermediate galaxy level. Together with the yin and yang Dao coordination tactics taught by me, they are an important combat power for me to deal with the White Dolphins. So now that the people on the White Dolphin side have revealed their clues, I have to search for my subordinates faster. Fortunately, I am on this planet, and I am not just here to occupy this place. Jia Yan looked at the city he stepped out of. This is not the country of the immortal cultivators, nor is it the city that just arrived on this planet, nor is it the small mountain village where the castle is located. It is an extremely prosperous big city. This city is probably ranked among the top 3 cities on the planet. And it is different from other major cities that are all religious cities. This is the largest port city on the entire planet. It is connected to the starport of the outside world and has a large number of aliens coming in and out. Jia Yan stepped into the base of the largest intelligence trafficking organization on the planet. This is a Darnet-like base on this planet. Jia Yan's entry caused many faces in the base to turn their heads. This place looks like an ordinary hotel, but in the hotel, some people who look like idlers are sitting, whispering. They are all exchanging or buying and selling information. My friend, I'm afraid you have come to the wrong place. Our hotel does not accept foreign guests. A female waiter came forward. She looked like she was in her 20s, but people could tell that she was not in her 20s, but rather an old lady. Jia Yan looked at her indifferently, and then looked at the dozens of people looking here following the sound. Sorry, I am not a foreigner, but your distinguished guest, he said breathlessly. Pfft. The woman laughed. Some people in the crowd around were smiling. Young man, if I were you, I wouldn't say such childish words. I'm afraid you don't know where this is. Go outside and play quickly. No outsiders are allowed here. A middle-aged man shook the red wine in his hand and said calmly. He also had good intentions. Of course, he wanted an outsider like the young man to leave this place quickly so that they could continue to exchange information without interruption. The young man's figure disappeared quickly. When Jia Yan appeared again, he was already standing beside the middle-aged man, and a short dagger appeared on the man's neck. Sweat stains ran down the man's cheeks. Now, you know that I am a distinguished guest. Jia Yan seemed to have done something easy and restrained the dagger in his hand. In fact, he didn't use any dagger at all, but grabbing this guy's neck with his palm was not as intimidating as a dagger, so he might as well just use a dagger. Well. Everyone around stood up from their chairs. Although not everyone knew the middle-aged man, those present before had sensed the power that the man deliberately unleashed when they entered this place where information was exchanged. Absolutely close to first class. According to Jia Yan's evaluation criteria, it is only weaker than the venerable level and has reached the level of the starry sky level. Such a being cannot be said to be an absolute first-rate powerhouse on this planet, but it is definitely a giant. But in the young man's hands, he couldn't even sustain a single move. No one doubted the young man's strength, because they all saw the young man's action just now, but they were just as stunned as the middle-aged man, and they didn't even see the young man's figure clearly. Dear guest, I'm sorry that we have made you unhappy. Please sit here. The maid's expression also changed, and her attitude changed. Jia Yan seemed to have known this outcome for a long time. Yun Dan Fengqing followed the woman to an empty seat, and it was a large table that was different from other people's ordinary seats. When the maid left, she pressed the seat button, and then it was difficult for the surrounding air to enter the place, indicating that the sound insulation was in place. Of course, the real exchange of information will not be in such a place. As a professional organization, they have a special place for exchange. My lord, I will take over your next business. Not long after, an elderly man came out of the seat. Jia Yan felt the strength of this man and was a little surprised that he was actually a figure who had almost reached the level of a venerable. In this planet where there is only one venerable level person, it is not an exaggeration to say that he is first rate. No wonder this intelligence organization has been able to flourish. With such a strong person in charge, it would be difficult to collapse. But after Jia Yan sensed his power, he just sat there indifferently. When the old man saw Jia Yan's attitude, he felt amazed in his heart. He didn't believe that a being who could make that middle-aged man surrender with one blow wouldn't even be able to sense the level of his own power. This young man looks like a young man, but his actual identity is probably earth-shattering. This guest, what kind of information do you want, or what kind of business do you need that we can help with? As long as it is within the scope of our business, we are willing to help. Jia Yan didn't respond to him for a while, but took a few sips of the drink the maid had just brought. The old man was respectful and showed no signs of urgency or impatience. Soon, Jia Yan drank the drink dry. This drink is pretty good. Bring the guest another drink. The old man gave the order directly to the rear. The maid immediately served the drinks again. Jia Yan sat leisurely, but did not touch the drink anymore. Instead, he looked at the elderly man with great interest. You are very interesting. No wonder you are able to run such an intelligence organization. The old man immediately smiled and said, the customer overrated me. I'm just lucky. Besides, in this business, we can't act arrogantly. Very good. I'm also very satisfied with your reply. Now let me tell you my request. The old man originally thought that Jia Yan's request was to know some information on this planet. If it is information on this planet, as long as the other party pays a price, they may give out information about even the strongest venerable. But what the old man didn't expect was that the information Jia Yan asked about was a big business that even he was stunned by. I want you to help me investigate extraterrestrials to find out where there are relatively unique powerful beings, such as extremely powerful beings that suddenly appear. I'm talking about at least starry sky level and above. Oh, according to what you said, they are immortal cultivators. God transformation level, great magician, and beings above the gold level of fighting spirit. The elderly man was still a little tense, but he was on the verge of collapse. What is this requirement? A strong man suddenly appeared, and he was also an alien? This guest, you know, our intelligence department is only based on this planet. Although we have done alien business, we don't have much contact with it. Jia Yan calmly picked up the second cup of drink. Don't tell me that if you are based on this planet, you will have no contact with aliens at all. Otherwise, what would you be doing in this port city? I'm afraid your business would have been extended overseas. It's a star. That's true, but it's only at the most basic level. Now there are the most basic branches on 10 alien planets. That's enough. Jia Yan waved his hand unwillingly. What I need is for you to activate your intelligence capabilities. Even if you help me collect a large number of paper news on the planet, you can select out the abnormal ones and give them to me. I don't want to. If you hear no word, I will give you the price. Do you understand what I mean? The old man's demeanor changed. Jia Yan's request was quite simple. If they just followed what Jia Yan said, they only needed to activate their intelligence capabilities and collect as much ordinary news as possible. But he couldn't guarantee whether such a terrifying existence would get worse in the future, turning their organization into a forbidden area for this powerful man. So he looked a little hesitant. Just when he raised his head and met the gaze of the young man overlooking the sky, the old man felt that he saw an entire starry sky. The dark artistic conception instantly filled the entire space. This is a sense of vastness that can only be felt by those who have reached the starry sky level or above. Powerful. Incredibly strong. If he hadn't known that the person in front of him could not be a god, he might have mistaken Jia Yan for some god. Okay, sir, our organization is willing to work for you. Very good. You are very aware of current affairs. You don't have to worry about the price. I will give you generous treatment that you cannot refuse. It's our honor to work for you, the price is free. Jia Yan waved his hand, Don't talk to me about this little thing. Okay, let's talk about it. Now you can collect it? I'll come back in a week. I hope you can give me as satisfactory an answer as possible. The old man watched Jia Yan continue to pick up the drink and take a sip, then sipped it gently and put it down. He stood up and took a step forward under the gaze of the old man. Then, the old man stood up from his chair in shock, his eyes full of disbelief. Because the young man just disappeared before his eyes. Not a trace of breath fluctuation. He has reached a high level of existence in the starry sky, and he can't even figure out how the other party disappeared. This is too scary. The old man suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Thinking back to the fighting spirit he had felt just before he came, he almost didn't dare to slap himself twice. If he dared to take action against such a being, he would probably be slapped so hard that his parents would not recognize him. But, is such a terrifying existence the most powerful person? The most powerful person is not that strong, right? The old man had some doubts. Because based on his knowledge of the world. In this world, the most powerful ones are just the supreme level, which is what the outside world calls the venerable level. There is no way, who lets the strength of Jia Yan and White Dolphin Domain Master project their energy into this world. Of course, the strongest one cannot reach the level of venerable or above. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe. Just refresh this chapter in half an hour. He stood up and took a step forward under the gaze of the old man. Then, the old man stood up from his chair in shock, his eyes full of disbelief. Because the young man just disappeared before his eyes. Not a trace of breath fluctuation. He has reached a high level of existence in the starry sky, and he can't even figure out how the other party disappeared. This is too scary. The old man suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. He recalled that before he came here, he had a little fighting spirit in the bookstore, and he almost didn't slap himself twice. If he dared to take action against such a being, he would probably be slapped so hard that his parents would not recognize him. But, is such a terrifying existence the most powerful person? The most powerful person is not that strong, right? The old man had some doubts. Because based on his knowledge of the world. In this world, the most powerful ones are just the supreme level, which is what the outside world calls the venerable level. There is no way, who lets the strength of Jia Yan and White Dolphin Domain Master project their energy into this world. Of course, the strongest one cannot reach the level of venerable or above. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe. Just refresh this chapter in half an hour. In order to facilitate reading next time, you can click collect below to record this reading record, chapter 2591, The Supreme Power. End of this volume, and you can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2644. New volume, new atmosphere, everyone is welcome to subscribe. I'm afraid that what Jialin is thinking about is impossible to accomplish. Tiangui is making rapid progress. It was faster than Jialin might have imagined. Others were half-hearted, but Jia Yan opened up several aspects directly. The hotel side is one of his layouts. In fact, he has similar arrangements in several other major countries and in several important places. There are many places that even Edissa doesn't know about. In addition, information was quickly collected by the intelligence organization. They activated their strongest energy. Even though these energies came at a considerable price, the intelligence organization did not care. To befriend someone who may be the most powerful person, no matter how high the price is, it is worth it. Within a week, it arrived as promised. During this week, Jia Yan made more arrangements and backup plans. In addition, in hotels and other places, several groups of similar descendants of black believers, as well as some frustrated immortal cultivators, received guidance from the mysterious big man and made rapid progress, becoming Jia Yan's backup force. When Jia Yan arrived that day, he went to the intelligence organization first. It's the same hotel-like building as always. But today, there is no outsider in the restaurant or lobby of this organization. Except for Jia Yan, all other business will be rejected today. This shows how much this organization values Jia Yan. I've met my lord. The old man waited outside the hotel door for a long time. Seeing the figure in front of him flickering, a young man's shadow emerged. He didn't even dare to look carefully, but bowed with clasped fists respectfully. Have you got everything I asked for? Jia Yan's voice sounded clear and clear. Only then did the old man dare to raise his head, and saw that although the young man in front of him looked like a young man, his expression was silent and unfazed, which was not what a young man should have at all. Yes, sir, our organization has tried its best to collect intelligence for you, and we have obtained several intelligence targets that you want. Oh. Very good, show me the information. Jia Yan was a little surprised. He was quite satisfied with the capabilities of this intelligence organization. He does not think that all the intelligence content is valuable. Excluding the worthless ones and the intelligence from local geniuses, as long as there is one piece of intelligence that belongs to his subordinates, it is worthy of his praise. Of course, if there are more than two, Jia Yan will give a major reward. Please take a look, sir. As the old man spoke, he led Jia Yan inside. At the same time, knowing that the big shots around him might be eager to get it, he sent the information to Jia Yan's brain signal. Jia Yan received the information, glanced at it casually, closed the information, and followed the old man into the office of their organization. The highest level secret room is a secret room that receives the highest level figures, but the key to today's mission is that this place is relatively quiet and suitable for welcoming guests. What needs to be done has already been done on the road. You have done well. I will give you rewards in the future. No, as long as the adults can remember our friendship, we don't ask for anything in return. The old man bowed quickly. He didn't even dare to sit down. The power displayed by Jia Yan kept the old man awake at night. No matter how he thought about it, he did not think that this should be the terrifying strength that he could imagine. Therefore, he decided to regard Jia Yan as the top-level being, that is, the supreme power. In front of such a power, there is no reason for him to sit still even if he is at the top of the starry sky level. Jia Yan didn't say anything. Originally, he didn't have much in common with people of this level. I said that I will give you something in return. That means yes. You don't have to refuse. Yes, thank you, sir. The old man responded quickly. He didn't know what the strong man would give in return, but as long as the other party was willing to give, even if it was just a few bills, he would be grateful. In addition, I want to take you and your organization under my control. What do you think? Jia Yan said calmly. At this time, the old man looked ugly. He had already guessed that this strong man was probably thinking of their entire organization, but he didn't expect that he would say it so directly. Since your excellency takes a liking to my organization, I will naturally do my best for you. Seeing that he was still a little unwilling, Jia Yan couldn't help but chuckle. If I read it correctly, you must have been stuck at your current level for a long time. The old man was shocked by Jia Yan's sudden change of topic, and couldn't help but nod respectfully again. Yes, sir, you are very discerning. My strength was stuck at the current level 300 years ago, and I'm afraid I won't be able to break through until I die. Jia Yan nodded, and then a black power surged from his palm. Shoot towards the old man. Grown-ups. The old man was shocked. How could he have thought that this big shot would actually cross the river and burn the bridge, wanting to get rid of him after he and others worked hard for him? But even if he reacted, he wouldn't have time to dodge. With Jia Yan's strength, he punched into his body with one palm. The old man's face was cold and ugly. He believed that if a being who could travel through space attacked him, he was afraid that one blow would turn him into pieces of heaven and earth. But soon, he realized that the force that blasted into his body was not destructive. On the contrary, it rushed towards his Danshan Ki. The old man's immortal cultivator's power that had been sealed inside his body broke through the seal directly from his Danshan. This old man was actually an immortal cultivator. Because the outside world of the planet does not welcome immortal cultivators, so even if he is a person at the top of the immortal cultivator, he does not dare to reveal his identity. He just runs around the outside world to see if he can rescue the group of immortal cultivators on Xi and Shen planet. Unexpectedly, the actual identity that had been hidden for many years was exposed under the attack of the powerful person in front of him. However, the power from this attack did not destroy his Danshan Ki. Instead, after drawing out his power, it directly guided the power to swim away. I have been trapped in the pill formation stage for a long time, and I have not been able to pass through these meridians. The big man in front of me actually opened my meridians. The next moment, the old man's face became ecstatic. He felt that the meridians he was trying to break through were guided by the strong young man. After his meridians became smooth, he directly broke through the realm of forming pills and entered the realm of transforming into gods. When the realm was broken through, there was originally a heavenly catastrophe, but the old man came back to his senses, looked around, and his expression was unbelievable again. The power of the heavenly calamity that he was about to endure did not appear at all. Everything seemed to be silent. Even though there were huge changes in his body, under the seal of that palm power, there was no movement at all around him. The appearance of an ordinary powerful person in the transformation stage would probably be earth-shattering. The entire world would undergo major changes, and most of the powerful people on this planet would feel it. But today, no one noticed his promotion to the divine transformation stage. Okay, I've increased your strength for you. In this way, I can repay you a little for your help. No, sir, you are so kind to me. After hearing Jia Yan's words again, the old man trembled all over and knelt down towards the ground. I am really grateful to Jia Yan. The bottleneck that had been stuck for hundreds of years was suddenly solved by the big shot in front of me. But in the old man's heart, the bigger reason for kneeling was that the terrifying existence in front of him was more mysterious and powerful to him. What he was promoted to was not just a random little realm. This is the stage of transformation. The next level of spiritual transformation is the Mahayana stage. In the Mahayana stage, he will be the most powerful person. Generally speaking, even the most powerful person cannot promote an immortal cultivator to the stage of divine transformation. Even if he has this ability, he will probably have to spend a lot of effort and pay a huge price. But the young man in front of him did it casually. This shows that the young man in front of him cannot be regarded as an ordinary supreme powerhouse. This is the real reason for the old man to kneel down. And the old man knew that it didn't matter whether he had information or not. Even if he paid 10 times more information, he probably wouldn't be able to get another supreme powerhouse to help him improve his level. To him, this favor was almost too great. It's not too exaggerated to kneel down. Immortal cultivators don't believe in heaven or earth, so why do you always like to kneel down? Jia Yan had no choice but to wave his hand and saw the old man standing up involuntarily. This made the old man's face change wildly. He has already reached the stage of divine transformation, but in front of this young man, he is still as defenseless as a child. What kind of powerful person is he in front of me? Now that I have proven my ability, let me ask again, are you willing to let your intelligence organization work for me? If you are willing, Please accept me and wait. The old man wanted to kneel down and worship again, but thinking that Jia Yan refused, he bowed and handed over his hand. That's good, now come with me to visit Wuxian section. Jia Yan smiled. Wuxian sect? Is that a powerful sect on this planet? Well, I have old friends with the previous sect leader of Wuxian section. If you go to Wuxian sect to recruit, I can be a middleman. Jia Yan's affairs in the Wuxian faction were not a big secret at all to the old man, the head of the intelligence department, so he had learned about Jia Yan's actions there through several means. Jia Yan was not surprised either. After standing up, he waved directly without waiting for the old man to say anything. The old man felt that his whole body could not move. He couldn't laugh or cry. He has obviously advanced in strength, and even in the world of immortality, everyone calls him the powerful ancestor of his divine transformation stage, but he actually has no power to resist in front of this terrifying big man. There is no pleasure in being promoted. The next moment, his thoughts completely disappeared, because an unimaginable terrifying law enveloped him, and then his whole person turned into particles. He was dragged into the twisted space by Jia Yan. Is this space transfer? Sir, who are you? God. The old man could no longer breathe comfortably. After meeting Jia Yan, he had repeatedly raised the young man's status, but it was not as clear as he felt today. The shock is also extremely exaggerated. Jia Yan just smiled. It doesn't matter to him whether it's God or not. In this world he is a god. But what about going to the outside world? Just a domain lord. Here he can control the wind and rain, but when he goes to the outside world, there are still terrifying beings that are much stronger than him. Therefore, Jia Yan himself does not care whether he is a god or not. Who? Quickly, the world in front of me suddenly changed to normal. The old man followed Jia Yan, who had his hands on his back, and came to the green mountains and forests with beautiful mountains and rivers. His eyes widened. This place was exactly where the Wuxian faction was stationed, where he had been several times. But too fast. It only took a few breaths to reach the other side of the planet. This adult's ability to transfer is beyond imagination. Welcome, Mr. Jia. Suddenly, before the old man was fully shocked, a large wave of respectful greetings rang out from beside him. It turns out that there are a large number of serving men and women waiting on the top of this mountain. They spoke together, causing the world to change. The place where Jia Yan and the old man appeared was on the high platform directly in front of everyone, with the seats behind them. It's just a few hundred words away. Those who have subscribed to the official version will have it after refreshing in half an hour. Book friends from other sites are welcome to come and subscribe to the original version. Thank you. He was dragged into the twisted space by Jia Yan. Is this space transfer? Sir, who are you? God. The old man could no longer breathe comfortably. After meeting Jia Yan, he had repeatedly raised the young man's status, but it was not as clear as he felt today. The shock is also extremely exaggerated. Jia Yan just smiled. It doesn't matter to him whether it's God or not. In this world he is a god. But what about going to the outside world? Just a domain lord. Here he can control the wind and rain, but when he goes to the outside world, there are still terrifying beings that are much stronger than him. Therefore, Jia Yan himself does not care whether he is a god or not. Who? Quickly, the world in front of me suddenly changed to normal. The old man followed Jia Yan, who had his hands on his back, and came to the green mountains and forests with beautiful mountains and rivers. His eyes widened. This place was exactly where the Wuxian faction was stationed, where he had been several times. But too fast. It only took a few breaths to reach the other side of the planet. This adult's ability to transfer is beyond imagination. Welcome, Mr. Jia. Suddenly, Before the old man was fully shocked, a large wave of respectful greetings rang out from beside him. It turns out that there are a large number of serving men and women waiting on the top of this mountain. They spoke together, causing the world to change. The place where Jia Yan and the old man appeared was on the high platform directly in front of everyone, with the seats behind them. It's just a few hundred words away. Those who have subscribed to the official version will have it after refreshing in half an hour. Book friends from other sites are welcome to come and subscribe to the official version. Thank you. It turns out that on this hilltop, there are a large number of men and women serving each other, waiting for you. In situ. They spoke together, causing the world to change. The place where Jia Yan and the old man appeared was on the high platform directly in front of everyone, with the seats behind them. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2645. Senior, I won't just listen to Godamen's one-sided words and ask Senior to use his methods. This old man with a white beard spoke straightforwardly. It's quite in line with Jia Yan's temper. But what he said clearly questioned Jia Yan's ability. What makes people even more speechless is that while this person was talking, he kept staring at the newly conquered old man sitting next to Jia Yan. Is this guy blind? I haven't seen the people at Wu Tianmen, they have been looking at me here. Jia Yan was helpless. Well. The old man was a little embarrassed and cast his gaze in the direction of Jia Yan. But he saw that Jia Yan's face looked ugly, and he didn't know what to say. After all, he didn't have much contact with his current boss, so he didn't know what his temper was. Since he wants to see your methods, it's up to you to show them. Jia Yan said calmly. This is. The old man didn't expect that when he was brought to watch the excitement, he would be given a task as soon as he arrived. But since it was Jia Yan's request, he couldn't refuse. And since you have joined this man's subordinates, it's natural to take advantage of now to come up with some certificates of investment. In other words, the person with the gray beard who spoke provocatively gave himself a chance. He stood up. The old man with a white beard was still surprised. From the conversation between the two just now, it seems that I seem to have found the wrong person. The boy who looks like a teenager is the leader of these two people. How can it be? Immortal cultivators have quite a lot of opinions and insights about the breath of life. This young man's life aura is obviously extremely powerful, which means that he is quite young, probably in his teens. But this young man should be, at most, the old man's junior or disciple, but now the old man listens to him. Young people are what Godamen calls masters. Looking at the direction in which everyone at Wuxianmen was looking, the white-bearded immortal cultivator became embarrassed. He realized he had the wrong person. But the old man next to the young man stood up. He couldn't say that he had found the wrong target. It's okay, defeat the old man, and then let the young man show his skills. The strong old man came to the old man with a white beard. The two looked like they were the same age. After looking at each other from a distance, the old man under Jia Yan said calmly, "You should be from the Qingzu section back then, Qingzu was still my friend." The face of the old man with a white beard opposite him changed. "I don't know what your surname is." The strong old man sighed softly, "You are the third disciple of Qingzu, right? I didn't expect that you would reach the level of Qingzu today. You are in the middle stage of pill formation. Not bad. I wonder if Qingzu is still alive. Who is the senior?" "The master passed away at the end of his life 20 years ago. I passed away. It seems that Qingzu has not passed the big threshold of the late stage of pill formation after all. Anyway, I am used to old friends passing away one by one." The old man smiled bitterly and shook his head. He was previously a strong man at the peak of the Dan formation period, and his lifespan was longer than the average Dan formation period. Now it has become the stage of becoming gods, and the lifespan has been extended by 1,000 years out of thin air. I am afraid that if all the immortal cultivators in front of me do not practice to become gods, I will watch them grow old and die again. Who doesn't sigh? Old friend, Senior has not replied yet. Who are you? The old man with a white beard looked a little surprised. You must know that he is the strongest being in this team. The current foundations of several major sects are no longer good. He is a strong man in the middle stage of pill formation and is now a treasure on this planet. He usually sits in the green bamboo sex formation, intimidating the existence of the entire Bashan cult. He came here today precisely because he wanted to see what kind of existence the so-called senior master really was. If he was also able to cultivate through pill formation, he would be able to intimidate him. The old man who suddenly appeared looked like a cultivator of immortality, but he seemed unable to recognize him. It seems to be stronger than myself. Haven't you recognized me yet? When you, the 3 disciples, became disciples, did you have a friend of your master with you? Ah! The expression of the old man with a white beard changed wildly. He doesn't remember. When I was apprenticed to old man King Zhu, I almost failed to become a disciple, but because of a few words from the friend next to my master, he accepted me. It can be said that that senior is his lucky star and even his benefactor. Are you Mr. Ping Cheng back then? This, senior, are you still alive? Yes, you still remember me. In today's world, there are not many people who still know me. The strong old man, who was also called the Ping Chen Lang Jun as the old man with the white beard nodded, sighed. The old man from the Kingzhou sect took a few steps back, his face as if he had heard something unimaginable. You are actually still alive, then your strength. You must know that in the middle stage of the pill formation, you will not live to the age of Heiken Lang Jun, and the Heiken Lang Jun in front of you is not dead at all. In other words, he may have broken through to a higher level than the middle stage of the pill formation. Even in the late stage of pill formation, it is difficult to live to the current age. Because Mr. Ping Cheng is 100 or 200 years older than his current King Zhu. Therefore, the old man in front of me is probably at the pinnacle of pill formation, or even become a god. Haha, since you are the modern King Zhu, I will call you King Zhu. You already have the answer in your heart, so why bother questioning it? Old man King Zhu's expression changed several times again. Then he gritted his teeth. You have nothing to say, senior. Since you claim to be senior Ping Cheng Lang Jun, your strength is definitely above mine. It is a matter of life and death for several sects in the future. I would like to ask senior for some advice. Of course you can. If Jia Yan hadn't helped Ping Cheng Lang Jun improve his strength before, I'm afraid it wouldn't have been that simple for him, a peak pill-forming master, to start fighting against mid-stage pill-forming masters. Although there is a huge gap in strength between the two sides, the old man is too old and has not fought against anyone for a long time, so the victory may not be so beautiful. But now, Jia Yan helped him rise to the level of becoming a god. Then the situation is different. Call out. Old man King Zhu raised his hand, and a large, colorful illusory sword was raised behind him. These swords have attack power and can turn into reality at any time. It is not a problem to penetrate a mountain at will. Boom. A large sword shot towards Heiken Lang Jun. Jia Yan was in the back, and it was interesting to watch. Quite interesting. Because the scene in front of him was nothing in his eyes, but it was beautiful and exactly the same as the battle of immortal cultivators he imagined. Interesting. Jia Yan watched with amusement. But other immortal cultivators are not just admiring it so simply. They were extremely nervous. Before the two powerful men took action, they had already caused huge changes in the mountains and rivers, and the air was filled with violent vitality. Many disciples of low-level immortal cultivators kept falling back, their expressions changing wildly. Some even couldn't help but vomit blood. Fortunately, Their elders have already reached out to smooth out the fluctuations caused by the two masters. Moreover, he also led the juniors backwards and away from the hilltop, leaving a large area of the ground empty. On the contrary, Jia Yan, who was sitting on the high platform, and the head of Wu Tian sect, who was standing respectfully not far from Jia Yan with his hands tied, looked conspicuous. Boom! The sky seemed to be completely dark for a moment, and then endless brilliance bloomed. Jia Yan was completely fearless and allowed a large amount of energy to pour into him. The strange thing is that after these energies reached Jia Yan's side, they seemed to automatically weaken and then dissipated in the sky. No defensive force was used, and no means were used. This turns energy into something harmless. When the leader of Wuxian Gate saw this, he immediately became more respectful. You know, this is a battle between two masters in the alchemy stage. Unexpectedly, they can't even hurt Master Jia. How strong is it? In the sky, the old man Ping Chen Lang Jun had his arms behind his back, but a long sword flew out in front of him, and his sleeves flew, blocking all the illusory long swords that were shot. To put it lightly, it was very simple. The old man King Zhu opposite him had a gloomy expression. He knew that he might have encountered an even more exaggerated enemy than the previous battle with the senior officials of Xinbei Temple. In the end, the Xinbei Temple gradually encroached on the territory of the immortal cultivators, not mainly by force, but in that battle, and forced King Zhu and a group of immortal cultivators to die, and those who retreated to the main formation retreated. There was no more big fight. Old man King Zhu and the others did not dare to fight back, because they knew that the Xinbei Temple was just trying to slow down the immortal cultivating sect and slowly disintegrate it. If they did not resist, it might still exist for a little longer, and there might be changes. So today, I am afraid that he is the strongest opponent he has faced in his life. Senior, I'm afraid your sword is more than this level, so you might as well go all out. You don't have to go all out, just because you can't bear it with all your strength. Snored. Being looked down upon by the old man in front of him, how could a man like old man King Zhu, who had been in a high position for a long time, endure it? He immediately waved his sword even more fiercely and rushed towards old man Ping Chen Lang Jun. By the way, on the high platform below, Jia Yan suddenly spoke. The leader of the Wuxian sect next to Jia Yan quickly listened attentively, fearing that he might not hear what the big boss next to him said clearly and make him unhappy. Is this person I brought here called Heiken Lang Jun? Jia Yan asked. The leader of Wu Tian sect was so hung that he lost his balance and fell from the high platform. If he fell, he might become the first Wuxian sect leader to fall to his death. Of course nothing so shameful happened. I'm sorry, Mr. Jia, I'm not from Senior King's generation, so I don't know Hiragi-kun back then. But it is said that the senior was also a genius at the time, but after the rise of Xinbei Temple, he gradually disappeared. In history, I didn't expect that this old man still exists in the world. The leader of Wuxian sect wanted to say, you brought this man yourself, and you actually asked me for his information. What are you doing? Jia Yan nodded. He had made up his own mind about the disappearance of Hirashiro-kun. He should have gone to an alien planet and established the current intelligence department. But he didn't expect that after returning to the planet, it was already an era when the Xinbei Temple had taken control of the entire planet. He had no choice but to use his intelligence skills to continue lurking in the dark. Anyway, it should be about the same. Jia Yan is not interested in this subordinate's past. He only needs to know the name of this subordinate and what abilities he has today. A so-called God formation stage, that is, a venerable level existence, will also be helpful for his next major events. The old man Ping Chen Lang Jun in the sky is probably also using this battle to familiarize himself with his ability to transform into gods. At first, Jia Yan was a little interested in watching the various games, but after watching too much, he gradually became bored. The two sides are not on the same level at all, and they are not passionate and exciting enough. So Jia Yan simply let the two of them fight in the sky, and took out the information book that the old man had given him before. Inside are several abnormal alien genius events and information. It's just a few hundred words short. You'll be able to see the original version after half an hour's refresh. Book friends who have fully subscribed are welcome to add. Thank you. The leader of Wuxian sect really wanted to say, you brought this man yourself, and you actually asked me for his information. What are you doing? Jia Yan nodded. He had made up his own mind about the disappearance of Hirashiro-kun. He should have gone to an alien planet and established the current intelligence department. I just didn't expect that after returning to the planet, it was already an era when the Zinbei Temple had taken control of the entire planet. He has no choice but to use his intelligence skills to continue lurking in the dark. Anyway, it should be about the same. Jia Yan is not interested in this subordinate's past. He only needs to know the name of this subordinate and what abilities he has today. A so-called God formation stage, that is, a venerable level existence, will also be helpful for his next major events. The old man Ping Cheng Lang Jun in the sky is probably also using this battle to familiarize himself with his ability to transform into gods. At first, Jia Yan was a little interested in watching the various games, but after watching too much, he gradually became bored. The two sides are not on the same level at all, and they are not passionate and exciting enough. So Jia Yan simply let the two of them fight in the sky, and took out the information book that the old man had given him before. Inside are several abnormal alien genius events and information. It's just a few hundred words short. You'll be able to see the original version after half an hour's refresh. Book friends who have fully subscribed are welcome, thank you. A so-called God transformation stage, that is, a venerable level existence, will also be helpful for his next major events. The old man Ping Cheng Lang Jun in the sky is probably also using this battle to familiarize himself with his ability to transform into gods. At first, Jia Yan was a little interested in watching the various games, but after watching too much, he gradually became bored. The two sides are not on the same level at all, and they are not passionate and exciting enough. So Jia Yan simply let the two of them fight in the sky, and took out the information book that the old man had given him before. Inside are several abnormal alien genius events and information. It's just a few hundred words short. You'll be able to see the original version after half an hour's refresh. Book friends who have fully subscribed are welcome, thank you. Please remember the first domain name of this book. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2646. Between heaven and earth, bursts of brilliant brilliance erupted. Caxia was everywhere, like golden light, falling into pieces to the ground. He he he. Jia Yan heard the familiar little girl's laughter. Following the sound, he smiled helplessly. It turned out that at some point, little Editha was sitting alone on a small stone far away from the crowd, staring stupidly at the battle in the sky with her little chin propped up. It's not surprising. Edisha was brought to Wuxian sect by herself, and she also knew that Jia Yan would come again today, so it was normal for her to travel through space and play. The one who fell from the sky was undoubtedly the current head of King's sect. He hit the ground hard, and then looked at the strong old man standing proudly in the sky in disbelief. The seniors are strong, but I'm afraid they didn't try their best in the end, and the juniors will admit defeat. Kingza smiled bitterly and cupped his fists. The old man Ping Cheng Lang Jun fell next to Jia Yan, looked at the junior with his hands tied, and sighed deeply. You are already very good, and your future life will be formidable. But you are paying tribute to the wrong person. This is my lord, and you should salute my lord first. Mr. Ping Cheng bowed to Jia Yan. Well. Although the head of Kingza had noticed something just now, when he was really sure of the matter, he was still greatly shocked in his heart. Jia Yan is just a young man. He just deliberately explored the vitality in his body. He should be a serious young man. But now Senior Hyken Lang Jun actually said that this young man is his master, which shows that his investigation should have been wrong. I have seen this master, you, must be what they call Mr. Jia. Mr. Jia, although I lost to Senior Ping Cheng Lang Jun, but since the senior is not you, I still have some doubts about your ability. Doubt? Who? Before Master Kingzu could finish speaking, Jia Yan waved his palm calmly. In the next moment, the head of Kingzu was blown up to the sky, without even the slightest strength to resist. The leader of Kingzu was in mid-air, his grey beard standing on end. He wanted to resist but had no choice but to let the strong wind blow him into the air. Jia Yan's arm calmly moved around again, and Master Kingzu was involuntarily pulled back to the high platform again. How about it? Is my current ability enough to satisfy you? Jia Yan asked with a smile. The shocked look on Master Kingzu's face did not leave him for a long time. After being stunned for a moment, he quickly clasped his fists and bowed. Yes, your strength is astonishing. I have never seen it before in my life. Please forgive me for questioning you. This matter is related to the lives and fortunes of thousands of disciples of our section. I don't dare to be careless. Jia Yan waved his hands non-committally, which frightened the head of Kingzu and made him tremble all over. Fortunately, Jia Yan's swing did not carry any energy. Adisha, come here when you are here. Jia Yan did not speak to him directly, but asked Adisha from a distance to come. Okay, here comes Aditha. Aditha stood up from the stone behind the crowd. Her words brought the disciples of the immortal cultivation sect in front of her back to their senses. They didn't notice at all that there was a little kid coming behind them, like a 5 or 6-year-old little doubting. But after Adisha's chubby little body stood up, she took one step forward and arrived at the high platform where Jia Yan was. The eyes of the disciples of the immortal cultivation sect here were straightened. A few of them rubbed their eyes, looked back at the empty stone, and then looked at Adisha, who had inexplicably climbed onto the high platform. They suddenly understood that this kid was probably not some kid, but a senior expert who far surpassed them. Adisha, tell me, can this person be used? Jia Yan is determined to test his love for Adisha. Adisha looked at the head of Kingzu, put her hands behind her back, and walked in circles around the head of Kingzu. The head of Kingzu had never been observed like an object by such a little kid. He felt a little uncomfortable all over and could only hold his head up proudly. No, just kill him. Adisha said angrily. Why? The head of Kingzu shivered with fright, his arrogant expression disappeared, and he quickly defended, I am the current #1 person in the world of cultivating immortals. No, Senior Ping Cheng Lang Jun is the #1 person, and I am the second, and I have a very wide network of connections, and with my help, you will be able to get twice the result with half the effort, so why can't I use it? Because you didn't meet me. Adisha jumped onto a chair and snorted arrogantly. The head of Kingzu was so anxious that a mouthful of old blood spurted out. You little brat, you suddenly jumped out. I don't know who you are, so why would you use this as a reason to attack? It's so bad. Greetings to this kid, he thought. It was definitely wrong to call him senior, but he didn't want to call him an adult. Call Lady Aditha. Greetings to Lady Adisha. Old Kingzu blushed, but he had no choice. In the face of life, being embarrassed was nothing. Brother, this person can be used. Adisha laughed and looked at Jia Yan. Jia Yan was a little helpless. You change your attitude very quickly. When someone calls you sir, are you bribed? It's a little too easy. However, Adisha's appearance did the job of beating this person up. This saves Jia Yan from wanting to use other methods to establish his authority. In that case, Adisha, this person will be under your control from now on, Kingzu, right? You know what we are capable of. If you have second thoughts in the future, no matter where you are hiding on this planet, I will be able to kill you instantly. That's all you said. After Jia Yan nodded, his palms flew and he took a step forward. Huh, his figure disappeared directly. Zhou Qingzu and the old man Ping Chen Lang Jun, who thought he would continue to follow Jia Yan, looked at each other. Hey, you are my people. From now on, I will follow Lady Edissa and enjoy the hot food. Edisha understood clearly that Jia Yan had left the affairs of the immortal cultivating sect to him. Ani Isama is so kind. Ever since Edisha received Jia Yan's favor and allowed her to call Jia Yan brother, she has integrated into the role of younger sister. She usually loves to act coquettishly, but Jia Yan is very kind to her, so she does some bearish things that are not out of the ordinary. Jia Yan allowed it. In other words, this is how cute and fun it is. Edisha is a pre-intelligent person, and she knows very clearly when something touches the bottom line. Well, hello to Lady Edissa. I need Lady Edissa to take care of me in the future. The old man Ping Chen Lang Jun is still more adaptable than the old man who is the leader of the Qingzu sect, otherwise he would not be able to control such a large intelligence organization, so he first saluted the 5-year-old kid. The head of Qingzu had no choice but to salute again. Ha ha ha, very good. From now on, you will do things with Lady Edisha. If you don't do well, Edisha will spank you, he he he. Edisha spoke so wildly that the two old men and the masters from various sects who gathered around her all looked strange. Let's not talk about how Edita is over there to rectify the forces of cultivating immortals. Jia Yan himself came to several other places on the planet that were popular among people. To say that he regained people's hearts, it is better to say that he used force to regain these places. Anyway, for him, all he wants is results. Just like the last planet. It's just that this time, what Jia Yan needs is not to slowly recover the planet in a few months. His physical fighting ability is no longer the same as before. So you can be more unscrupulous in doing things. Very good. You have trained the skills I taught you to the entry-level level. Most of the Starry Sky levels cannot stop you from joining forces to attack. In a place called Prison Island, Jia Yan led a group of vicious men and observed their combat training. This group of people all respected Jia Yan respectfully. Because of the disrespectful existence, it has turned into bones in the ground. Starry Sky level? Is it the level of a great magician? We are actually so powerful. With Master Jia's teachings, we can naturally turn decay into magic, so all this is the credit of Master Jia. If Mr. Jia has any orders, I will serve them even to the death. Jia Yan shuttled from venue to venue. Some of these places are just like the hotel where a group of weak people gather. Some are prisons and the base camps of certain organizations, and everyone has been conquered by Jia Yan. Without exception, Jia Yan taught the strongest among them, making their overall strength improve by leaps and bounds. The originally unscrupulous teaching power will make these strong men completely lose control and even turn against their master. But after experiencing the terrifying strength of this mysterious young man, the more they learned, the less they dared to have any thoughts of resistance. As a result, a force composed of a chaotic combination of people, so patchwork, each of them did not know that they existed, was gradually pulled together. On Edisha's side, things are going well. In other words, the reason why Jia Yan values the power of the immortal cultivators here is to be handled by Edisha. Because Jia Yan thinks he is not as good as Edisha when it comes to processing big data. The power of the immortal cultivators is the strongest power on the planet, except for the White Believer's Temple, and only Edisha has the ability to turn this most useful power into her own use as quickly as possible. The immortal cultivators originally didn't agree that a little kid like Edisha, who looked to be 5 or 6 years old at most, came to control them. Especially this little kid who always talks like a child and talks nonsense, which makes them completely unbelievable. But after they carried out each of Edisha's orders with some doubts, they gradually changed their minds. What kind of little brat is this? Everything is in order. In a few days, Edisha issued countless orders to specific individuals, and after each person completed the execution, she found that there were always other people who complemented her own tasks, and finally turned them into data or various preparations. In the end, the 5 major sects plus dozens of small and medium-sized sects gradually gathered, and a total of about 100,000 immortal cultivators were formed in just half a month. Moreover, within this half-month, without affecting the speed of the organization, Edisha ordered all cultivators to practice a special version of the Black God power. Ever since, on the hilltop of Wuxian sect, flying swords gradually turned into pure black from time to time, flying around in the sky. The brilliance of the explosion was no longer the energy of the immortal cultivators, but only belonged to the black brilliance of the Black God's power. It can be said that in this half-month, the entire cultivator force on the Xianshen planet was quickly twisted into a rope by a little kid who was only 5 years old. Of course, if anyone tells these immortal cultivators now that Lady Edisha, whom everyone admires and respects, is really only 5 years old, I am afraid that all the immortal cultivators will scold this person to death. Why are you talking? Lady Edisha is only 5 years old. Are you calling Lady Edisha childish, or are you calling us blind? Lady Edisha does look like she is only 5 or 6 years old, but that is just her appearance. With her experience and abilities, she must be a senior expert with profound cultivation. Who dares to say that Lady Edisha is only 5 years old? Si Suyuan, the immortal cultivators were the first to jump up and disagree. But Edisha looks like she is really only 5 years old. Several commands, and after each person has completed their execution, they find that there are always others who complement their own tasks, and finally become data or various preparations. In the end, the 5 major sects plus dozens of small and medium-sized sects gradually gathered, and a total of about 100,000 immortal cultivators were formed in just half a month. Moreover, within this half-month, without affecting the speed of the organization, Edisha ordered all cultivators to practice a special version of the Black God power. Ever since, on the hilltop of Wuxian sect, flying swords gradually turned into pure black from time to time, flying around in the sky. The brilliance of the explosion was no longer the energy of the immortal cultivators, but only belonged to the black brilliance of the Black God's power. It can be said that in this half-month, the entire cultivator force on the Xianshen planet was quickly twisted into a rope by a little kid who was only 5 years old. Of course, if anyone tells these immortal cultivators now that Lady Edisha, whom everyone admires and respects, is really only 5 years old, I am afraid that all the immortal cultivators will scold this person to death. Why are you talking? Lady Edisha is only 5 years old. Are you calling Lady Edisha childish, or are you calling us blind? Lady Edisha does look like she is only 5 or 6 years old, but that is just her appearance. With her experience and abilities, she must be a senior expert with profound cultivation. Who dares to say that Lady Edisha is only 5 years old? The immortal cultivators were the first to jump up and disagree. But Edisha looks like she is really only 5 years old. Who dares to say that Lady Edisha is only 5 years old? The immortal cultivators were the first to jump up and disagree. But Edisha looks like she is really only 5 years old. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2647. Under Edissa's angry stampede, Jia Yan's voice sounded from behind Edissa. Hey, brother. Edisha no longer calls Master Jia Yan in front of others, but calls her brother. She turned around in surprise, then threw herself into Jia Yan's arms, laughing. Don't act like a spoiled brat. Yeah. Edisha jumped down happily, and then resumed her commanding momentum just now. Of course, in Jia Yan's opinion, this momentum was just pretending. Mr. Ping Cheng, go and ask King Zhu and the others to prepare for action. Yes. The excitement on Heiken Lang Jun's face was beyond words. He had already guessed that Jia Yan would take action. But after waiting for a few days, I didn't hear any movement from Jia Yan and Aidisha, so I felt a little anxious. Today, they came directly to ask. Unexpectedly, Jia Yan came in person and told them the words to start the operation halfway through. He responded excitedly and then flew down the mountain. Brother, master, do you think we can win with these immortal cultivators? Aditya stood in the air with a smile, looking at the army of cultivators at the foot of the mountain, and suddenly started to move after receiving the order from Lord Hijo. You know, I also have plans elsewhere, so this time I will definitely win. Humph, Adisha knows. Adisha knew very well that Jia Yan had other arrangements with the outside world. Even in Jia Yan's arrangements, Aidisha participated a little bit, otherwise how could Jia Yan's other army advances be so smooth? Of course, since Jia Yan didn't say anything, Adisha wouldn't ask. She was a good child. As long as you know, we can't waste so much time on things on this planet. I'm afraid that some of the information about us has already entered the eyes and ears of the White Dolphin's intelligence department. We have to take advantage of their lack of information. Watch out before we get as much promotion as possible. Okay, Adisha has become stronger recently. Brother, master, have you become stronger? When Aditya spoke, even if there was no one else around, she unknowingly put the word brother in front of her master. Jia Yan let her do this. Anyway, this little girl was not bored. I have naturally become stronger, but your strength is only at the mid-level of venerable. I hope you will improve faster. Otherwise, when the war begins, you will not be able to fight with the strongest man in Zinbei Temple. That was a little disappointing to me. No, Adisha will reach the high level of venerable soon. Adisha is a genius. Adisha has quite a lot of self-confidence. Jia Yan didn't ridicule or encourage him. He knew that this little kid reincarnated by Xiaoji now probably had his own set of progress schedules. She said she could, so she almost didn't run away. As he spoke, the army of immortal cultivators below, which had been waiting for several days, finally started to move. Aditya happily flew downwards to command her army. Needless to say, cultivators are cultivators, and they are much neater and more charming than the armies Jia Yan has created elsewhere. Jia Yan watched from high in the sky. This group of immortal cultivators was in the tens of thousands, and many of them had a mysterious aura due to their increased strength. Moreover, the beauty of the man who cultivates immortality and the beauty of the woman make Jia Yan feel relaxed and happy. Listen, we are going to fight today to take down this planet. Aditya shouted loudly. The sound of her breasts was accurately transmitted to everyone's ears due to the explosion of energy. Yes. All the immortal cultivators responded respectfully. Jia Yan was a little dumbfounded. This little Adisha didn't know what method she used. Letting a child command an army was taken for granted by all immortal cultivators. No one thought it was insulting for her to command such a young child. On the contrary, when Aditya spoke, many young people became excited. That's all, no matter how she did it, I just need this largest force to be able to use it for me. Under the training and command of Adisha, the strongest force currently in Jia Yan's hands, the Black God Immortal Cultivator Force Phalanx, finally took shape. Adisha, you will lead this army into two groups to attack the two major countries in the southwest. Of course, you need to dedicate some of your manpower to attract the attention of other countries. Jia Yan's voice reached Adisha's ears. Okay, Adisha obeys. Aditya danced in the air. The army is marching southwest. Adisha took command of the troops. All the immortal cultivators changed their directions and then acted together. flying swords, magic weapons, and some that cannot fly and are not carried by their elders are running very fast on the ground, and their speed is not slow. This army of immortal cultivators really has more sense than ordinary cultivators. Jia Yan didn't show up either. He just looked at the forbidden troops indifferently and nodded with satisfaction. Next place. Jia Yan hurriedly stepped into the torn space again. It didn't take long. Shocking news broke out throughout the Xian planet. Media reports from various countries had previously reported that a huge number of cultivators were gathering crazily, and something was finally brewing. The gathering of immortal cultivators has been reported by the media a long time ago. Naturally, such a large-scale movement of immortal cultivators cannot be concealed. But the explanation given by the Immortal Cultivator Department is that the Immortal Cultivators are holding a grand trade fair once every 100 years, and there is actually a sect of Immortal Cultivators that has found out some of the past of the Wuxian sect, found out the traditions from hundreds of years ago, and made explain. It is naturally impossible for Xinbei Temple to believe it, but the spies they sent this time failed to convey the news at all. Everyone knew that a storm was coming this time, but no one could have expected that this mountain rain would be such a terrifying mountain rain. Within half a month, the major cultivating sects that were gathering to conduct level transactions turned into an army of more than 10,000 people and rushed toward the southwest of the country controlled by the cultivating sects. The two major countries there are the two important countries that have always restricted the development of the immortal sect, and there are large areas of Xinbei Temple in them. The slogan of the immortal cultivators is abolition of trade sanctions. These two countries were originally controlled by the immortal cultivation sect, and were rich in many necessary materials for immortal cultivators. Precisely because the immortal cultivators suffered losses in the past history, these two places were divided, and the Xinbei Temple controlled them crazily. They came here and restricted the trade of materials for cultivators, saying it was a sanction. Because of these sanctions, the immortal cultivation sect gradually weakened its vitality, became weak, and was destined to perish in the future. Now, these sects are rushing to these two countries in the name of lifting sanctions. The teacher has a reputation, and there are grievances, so it makes sense. More importantly, a large number of small sects and individual cultivators, who have not joined the army now, may join the army after learning about this. The war started without warning. The marching speed of the immortal cultivator sect is naturally not comparable to that of Jia Yan and the Xinhei army that walked out of the planet. Among immortal cultivators, there are many people with earth-level strength, even those with heaven-level and starry sky level are not few. During the Dan formation stage, a single blow from the starry sky level was equivalent to shaking the earth and splitting the earth apart. The two major countries were shocked. You must know that before today, although the cultivating sect was also strong, it had never been able to completely suppress the surrounding countries. On the one hand, there were enough masters in the Xinbei Temple to suppress it. On the other hand, the cultivators only believed in themselves. The various factions have been grudges for many years, and it is very difficult to unite. Unexpectedly, the immortal cultivating sects today would actually join forces. What's even more frightening is that the overall strength of the immortal cultivation sect seems to have improved. And it's more than a little improved. You are the Shuro fairy from the Kingzu sect? Didn't you just reach the foundation building stage mentioned by immortal cultivators 2 years ago? What, now you have reached the primary stage of pill formation. A tall temple was knocked down by the immortal cultivator's flying sword magic weapon. The god lord in the temple vomited blood and looked at the immortal cultivating woman who had defeated him in disbelief. This woman's strength is earth-shattering. But what shocked the god lord even more was that he had known the immortal cultivating woman in front of him before, and at that time, his own strength could still suppress this woman. It has only been 2 years, but the fairy in front of me has actually crushed him in terms of strength. Dan. How can it be? The masters in the world of cultivating immortals, they believe that Bashan Temple knows everything about it, and even deliberately controls the few promotion medicinal materials not to flow into the world of cultivating immortals, making it impossible to give birth to more pill-forming stages. But the woman in front of her could only improve her strength so quickly, but she had actually broken through the impossible Dan formation stage. Impossible. Giggle. The woman known as Fairy Shura smiled. You believe there are too many things that Bai Temple doesn't know. To tell you the truth, now that things have happened, you believe that the end of Bai Temple is coming. Fairy Shura spoke in an extremely cruel voice, and she had endured these words for hundreds of years. When the Zinbei Temple engulfed the territory of immortal cultivators before, she was not as strong as she is now, and several of her personal friends who were very good at it were killed by the Zinbei Temple. So in anger, she fought as hard as she could, and finally got the title of Shura. The end of the world? Ha 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 ha, you immortal cultivators are still thinking about such things when the sun sets. The power of the White Temple is beyond your imagination. I am underground, waiting for all of you to come see me. The Lord of God breathed his last. There is a difference of 1,000 words. You will be able to see the original version after refreshing the starting point in an hour. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the original version. Earth shaking, splitting the earth apart. The two major countries were shocked. You must know that before today, although the cultivating sect was also strong, it had never been able to completely suppress the surrounding countries. On the one hand, there were enough masters in the Zinbei Temple to suppress it. On the other hand, the cultivators only believed in themselves. The various factions have been grudges for many years, and it is very difficult to unite. Unexpectedly, the immortal cultivating sects today would actually join forces. What's even more frightening is that the overall strength of the immortal cultivation sect seems to have improved. And it's more than a little improved. You are the Shura fairy from the Kingzu sect? Didn't you just reach the foundation building stage mentioned by immortal cultivators 2 years ago? What, now you have reached the primary stage of pill formation. A tall temple was knocked down by the immortal cultivator's flying sword magic weapon. The God Lord in the temple vomited blood and looked at the immortal cultivating woman who had defeated him in disbelief. This woman's strength is earth-shattering. But what shocked the God Lord even more was that he had known the immortal cultivating woman in front of him before, and at that time, his own strength could still suppress this woman. It has only been 2 years, but the fairy in front of me has actually crushed him in terms of strength. Dan. How can it be? The masters in the world of cultivating immortals, they believe that Bashan Temple knows everything about it, and even deliberately controls the few promotion medicinal materials not to flow into the world of cultivating immortals, making it impossible to give birth to more pill-forming stages. But the woman in front of her could only improve her strength so quickly, but she had actually broken through the impossible Dan formation stage. Impossible. Giggle. The woman known as Fairy Shura smiled. You believe there are too many things that Bai Temple doesn't know. To tell you the truth, now that things have happened, you believe that the end of Bai Temple is coming. Fairy Shura spoke in an extremely cruel voice, and she had endured these words for hundreds of years. When the Zinbei Temple engulfed the territory of immortal cultivators before, she was not as strong as she is now, and several of her personal friends who were very good at it were killed by the Zinbei Temple. So in anger, she fought as hard as she could, and finally got the title of Shura. The end of the world? Ha 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 ha, you immortal cultivators are still thinking about such things when the sun sets. The power of the White Temple is beyond your imagination. I am underground, waiting for all of you to come see me. The Lord of God breathed his last. There is a difference of 1,000 words. You will be able to see the original version after refreshing the starting point in an hour. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the original version. Giggle. The woman known as Shura Fairy smiled. You believe things that Bashan Temple doesn't know. There are too many to find in Shuyuan. To tell you the truth, until now, you believe the end of the White Temple is coming. Fairy Shura spoke in an extremely cruel voice, and she had endured these words for hundreds of years. When the Zinbei Temple engulfed the territory of immortal cultivators before, she was not as strong as she is now, and several of her personal friends who were very good at it were killed by the Zinbei Temple. So in anger, she fought as hard as she could, and finally got the title of Shura. The end of the world? Ha 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 ha, you immortal cultivators are still thinking about such things when the sun sets. The power of the White Temple is beyond your imagination. I am underground, waiting for all of you to come see me. The Lord of God breathed his last. There is a difference of 1,000 words. You will be able to see the original version after refreshing the starting point in an hour. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the original version. The end of the world? Ha 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 ha, you immortal cultivators are still thinking about such things when the sun sets. The power of the White Temple is beyond your imagination. I am underground, waiting for all of you to come see me. The Lord of God breathed his last. There is a difference of 1,000 words. You will be able to see the original version after refreshing the starting point in an hour. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the original version. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2648. Declare war? Well, in fact, you don't even need to believe in the White God Sect's declaration of war. On the side of the immortal cultivators, there have long been several spokesmen with good image and temperament who have been publicly announced and have begun to announce to the outside world. Immortal cultivators have been the rulers of this planet since ancient times, while Zinbei cult is a rising star. Now this senior wants to regain the glory of the day. They declared war on the Shinbei God sect. One stone stirs up 1,000 waves. The whole planet shook. Many people are somewhat familiar with the history of immortal cultivators. Because when it comes to this planet, it is really a planet built by the builders. Originally, the planet was full of immortal civilization, and countless mortals longed to cultivate and become immortals, and finally live forever. As a result, the Zinbei sect gradually rose up from nowhere, and eventually eroded the territory and glory of the immortal cultivators step by step. Now the construction industry is finally rising up to resist. Oh my God, the world of immortals still dare to resist. They are not afraid of being exterminated. In the past few wars, the world of immortality has suffered heavy losses. This time may be the last moment of madness in the world of immortality. There is no need to draw conclusions. Immortal cultivators are not fools. If they are not sure, they would not dare to take action. Just look at the speed of the destruction of these two countries. These immortal cultivators are well prepared. It seems that countless people have strange abilities. The people and the top leaders of major forces are closely watching the information about the imminent all-out war between the two sides. But just when everyone focused their attention on the 100,000 builders who destroyed the two countries in one day. As if coincidentally, new war developments have occurred in several other areas on the planet. What? Those big villains on Prison Island killed the prison administrator and escaped. Not just escaping, but attacking the city and plundering territory all the way. They said they wanted to cause trouble for the Zinbei Temple. I'm afraid the strength of these demons has not only not decreased during their imprisonment, but has actually become stronger. These are just a group of prisoners, nothing to be afraid of. A small force sent by the Zinbei Temple can destroy them. Ah! There's other news. What's going on? In several major towns managed by the Baishan sect, descendants of those who believe in blacks are revolting. Descendants of those who believe in evil? Weren't they suppressed very miserably? Not to mention the strength of the rebels, many of them are simply disabled. I don't know why, these descendants of those who believe in black people actually have incredible power. What happened recently? the entire planet seems to be suddenly ablaze. This is a sign of a big change. As a mortal, I need to be careful. All over the planet, whether they were mortals or middle class and upper class people, they originally had a wait-and-see attitude towards the battle between immortal cultivators, but when they heard that masters of various fields were starting to revolt nearby, people suddenly became panicked. If it is just a force of immortal cultivators, even if their number reaches 100,000 level and they are constantly getting stronger with fresh blood, they are still just a lone army. Judging from the glorious achievements of Xinbei Temple in the past, it only takes a little effort to deal with this matter, and there is nothing to fear at all. However, when the matter extends to the entire planet, there are at least 10 similar situations. Even if the war with the immortal cultivators in other places is slightly weaker than that, it feels like the whole planet is riddled with holes. It makes people feel cold all over. At this time, the psychological pressure came up. All the Xinbei temples on the planet looked at the main holy city of Xinbei God religion, wondering what decision the holy masters above would make. Xinbei Temple may be extremely slow in other aspects, but in this kind of thing, the efficiency is surprisingly fast. Soon, the so-called holy masters, the chief of the great temple and other senior officials discussed the outcome. That is, divide and transform. They believe that there may be a connection between these events, but because they are so far apart, the connection is definitely not at the level of the alliance. Therefore, they prepared to implement a two-pronged strategy. For the extremely powerful immortal cultivators, they adopted the plan of peace talks plus small fight. The other 9 little ones add other chaos, such as the escape of the big devils on Prison Island, using the iron-blooded strategy. In this way, it only needs to be spent slowly. In the end, the trouble will only be with the army of immortal cultivators. Once all aspects are freed up, everyone believes that the masters of the White Temple army will arrive, and the army of 100,000 immortal cultivators will probably only be formed soon. Then it disappeared into ashes. Lord Jiayan, we have faced the first combined army of the Xinbei Temple to unite this kingdom. We may not have any good fruits to eat next. What do you want to say? On the outskirts of the feared prison island, the demons who escaped from the island have captured several towns. But today, they are not happy at all. Because the towns they captured in a few days were not completely in their hands, their behavior of recruiting subordinates even caused them to be despised by the townspeople. Not only were the manpower not replenished, but some were even lost. The number of thousands of people became more than 900. You have done a great job, and I am quite satisfied with your results. At the top, where everyone was kneeling and bowing, a young man sat calmly. To deal with these demonic villains, Jia Yan did not adopt the more friendly strategy of not allowing them to kneel down. What kind of subordinates should be treated and what kind of attitude should be used? This is Jia Yan's policy. The villains are extremely vicious, so he uses pure force and intimidation. So kneeling down is nothing. He killed dozens of criminals on the prison island with his own hands. But you don't need to be nervous. You know so many events in the outside world. I'm not afraid to reveal them to you and others. Those are all friendly forces, including the army of immortal cultivators. It turns out that those were all behind Mr. Jia Yan. He is indeed a big shot. No wonder I said, while we are taking action, there are several major routes to take action with us. From this point of view, our pressure does not need to be so great, because we are not fighting alone. The criminals were silent, but at the same time they were ecstatic. How could they not know that at the same time as they were causing trouble, there were also large-scale anti-belief in the White God sect events in several other places on the planet, and every movement was no smaller than what they were seeing here. It turns out they are all friendly forces. Yes, so you don't need to be nervous. Defend the captured city. The number of the Xinbei God sect coalition forces coming to attack will definitely not increase in the coming days. But what I need you to do is to defend the city and strengthen yourself as much as possible. Jia Yan sat indifferently and proudly in the chief position, calmly issuing orders. But Lord Jia Yan, it's okay to say it lightly, and we can do it as defenders. It's extremely difficult for us to recruit new people. These people don't believe us. Nonsense, you are people who came out of prison island. Do ordinary people dare to believe it? Jia Yan looked at the senior executive who spoke as if he was a child who could not be taught. Your identities are destined to be looked down upon by others, but haven't I taught you the plan? You can make up your own identities, and you can make up your own reasons even in the past. I know who you are. When your heart has not reached the level of heinous crimes, it is more likely that you will be blamed and imprisoned because of the power of Xinbei Temple, which is afraid of you. So, you just need to beautify yourselves based on the facts. You occupy the city. Are you afraid that public opinion is not in your hands? Let me mention it here. If I come back next time, I won't be able to see you. If the situation improves, then you can find a way to deal with the coalition forces of the Xinbei God section. After finishing speaking, Jia Yan took a step and disappeared in front of the small group of people who escaped from the prison island. This is just one of his backups. Although the individual strength of these big demons who escaped from the prison island is not weak, and together they can defeat many masters, they are clumsy in mind, and there are indeed people with evil minds among them. So he doesn't value this power very much. Greetings to Sir Jia Yan. If you don't come, sir, I won't be able to restrain these people. Going to the next place, I saw a large number of descendants of those who believed in black, attacking the city with the pure black god power taught by Jia Yan. Many of the descendants of those who believed in black people had become shaken when they saw that the city could not be conquered for a long time. Jia Yan was looked at by his commander as a savior, and he shook his head. He raised his palm towards the city far away. When it was covered again, an entire wall of the city had been opened. Lord Jia Yan is mighty. The commander was stunned, thinking he had seen a miracle. Of course, this is indeed a miracle. And it was a miracle performed by the Black God himself. It's a pity that no one here knows this. With Jia Yan's action, this group of people quickly invaded the city. By taking this city, you have gained a firm foothold. Now give me a large number of contact letters from the black descendants who agree to join the army. You also know what was promised. Don't withhold from them. Tell them directly. I believe it won't take long. You will have an army of more than 100,000 people here. Yes, Mr. Jia Yan, I believe there are more than 100,000. We believe that the number of descendants of black people hidden among the ordinary people is definitely more than imagined. Don't say 100,000, even 1 million, we all have a chance, as long as we are given take some time. Time, Jia Yan shook his head. I won't give you too much time. I don't plan to spend another half a year planning an attack on this planet. So at most 1 month, you can figure it out yourself. After Jia Yan shook his head, he traveled through space again. This time, he arrived at the most grand and high-end battlefield in the entire war. That is the battlefield of immortal cultivators that Aditya personally supervised. Beat, burn down the house over there. As soon as he came out of the shuttle, Jia Yan was dumbfounded when he saw a small figure flying freely in the sky. From time to time there were arrows attacking the figure on the ground, but they were all dodged by the little figure. But she didn't fight back, instead she flew around nimbly, giving directions. Edisha, how's the progress? Ani-sama. Aditya froze in the air for a moment, and then flew to Jia Yan's side with lightning speed. As a current venerable master, how could she be affected by the low-end battlefield in front of her? But at the low end, this battlefield where the immortal cultivators are located is really interesting. Jia Yan looked appreciative. Immortal cultivators either use flying swords or magic weapons to move up and down the sky, attacking below with spells from time to time. The allied forces of the Zinbei Temple and several major kingdoms also had experts who were either riding on tall horses or flying in the air to attack the immortal cultivators with white magic. The two sides were evenly matched, and the fight was lively. We will win. If Adisha wants to see them fight, let them fight more. Jia Yan listened, nodded as expected, and looked at the two mountains in the distance. On these two hills, there are two deeply hidden teams, which have been ambushing on both sides for a long time, just waiting for the large troops of Zinbei Temple to be attracted into the double team trap and launch a brutal attack. A few hundred words are missing. The original version will be refreshed in half an hour. Book friends who have not subscribed to Kidian, please subscribe to Kidian, thank you. By taking this city, you have gained a firm foothold. Now send me a large number of contact letters to the descendants of the blacks, who agree to join the army. You also know what was promised. Don't withhold from them. Tell them directly. I believe it won't take long. You will have an army of more than 100,000 people here. Yes, Mr. Jia Yan, I believe there are more than 100,000. We believe that the number of descendants of black people hidden among the ordinary people is definitely more than imagined. Don't say 100,000, even 1 million, we all have a chance, as long as we are given take some time. Time, Jia Yan shook his head. I won't give you too much time. I don't plan to spend another half a year planning an attack on this planet. So at most 1 month, you can figure it out yourself. After Jia Yan shook his head, he traveled through space again. This time, he arrived at the most grand and high-end battlefield in the entire war. That is the battlefield of immortal cultivators that Aditya personally supervised. He, beat, burn down the house over there. As soon as he came out of the shuttle, Jia Yan was dumbfounded when he saw a small figure flying freely in the sky. From time to time there were arrows attacking the figure on the ground, but they were all dodged by the little figure. But she didn't fight back, instead she flew around nimbly, giving directions. Adisha, how's the progress? Ah, brother. Aditya froze in the air for a moment, and then flew to Jia Yan's side with lightning speed. As a current venerable master, how could she be affected by the low-end battlefield in front of her? But at the low end, this battlefield where the immortal cultivators are located is really interesting. Jia Yan looked appreciative. Immortal cultivators either use flying swords or magic weapons to move up and down the sky, attacking below with spells from time to time. The allied forces of the Zinbei Temple and several major kingdoms also had experts who were either riding on tall horses or flying in the air to attack the immortal cultivators with white magic. The two sides were evenly matched, and the fight was lively. We will win. If Adisha wants to see them fight, let them fight more. Jia Yan listened, nodded as expected, and looked at the two mountains in the distance. On these two hills, there are two deeply hidden teams, which have been ambushing on both sides for a long time, just waiting for the large troops of Zinbei Temple to be attracted into the double team trap and launch a brutal attack. A few hundred words are missing. The original version will be refreshed in half an hour. Book friends who have not subscribed to Kidian, please subscribe to Kidian, thank you. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2649. No one could have expected that the army of immortal cultivators could expand so quickly. Among them, most of the reasons are that the results of the battle of the immortal cultivating troops shocked the small and medium-sized sects and idle immortal cultivators in all directions. Secondly, immortal cultivators have been oppressed so miserably in the past 100 years that countless small and medium-sized sects are on the verge of severing their inheritance. They can all see that as long as they reach a certain stage, the immortal cultivators will follow in the footsteps of those who believe in evil, and even their descendants will become descendants of immortal cultivators, which are as bad as pigs and dogs compared to the descendants of those who believe in evil. If you don't take the opportunity to resist, that would be the behavior of a fool. With the addition of a large amount of fresh blood, the army of immortal cultivators became stronger and larger. Flying swords, magic weapons, and talismans and other means shine brightly on the battlefield. Some masters even found unique abilities that were more suitable for them to use from the Black God's power taught by Jia Yan, and transformed them into mutant combat skills based on strength that even Jia Yan admired. Of course, none of these abilities can be compared to the joint skills taught by Jia Yan. This combat skill is a joint combat skill specifically developed for immortal cultivators that Jia Yan combined with the joint skills he had figured out on the previous planet, and then delved into some immortal cultivator energy. Infinite power. And it combines the characteristics of immortal cultivators with many methods and strange fighting methods. Many of these characteristics have the effect of easily killing enemies across levels. Wow, wow. Editha was flying around in the sky, happily. She doesn't participate in the war, but she is present in every major battlefield. Xinbei Temple has noticed this phenomenon, and it is not that they have not asked several masters to come and besiege the seemingly mascot, but always an alternative in the team of immortal cultivators. Unfortunately, all sieges turned out to be fruitless. Editha doesn't need to fight back. She can escape the pursuit of the venerable level simply by running away. Her shuttle ability makes it almost impossible to catch even the top masters of the venerable level. It just happened to exercise the little guy's body skills. He, why don't you hit Edisha? Then hit me again. Editha shouted towards a group of Xinbei Temple masters who were firing at her on the ground. The masters below ignored her, turned their artillery fire, and were about to fire towards the gathering place of the immortal cultivators in the distance. But as soon as the first shot came out of the barrel, it exploded, killing several prefecture-level masters next to the gunfire. Editha's gloating laughter sounded like silver bells again. It turned out that the little guy was squatting next to the gunfire, stuffing a pile of stones into the barrel of the next gunfire, and secretly covering his mouth from time to time. You little brat! How can I allow you to be so presumptuous? At this time, the commander of the artillery unit was furious. He was a top-level master. He jumped up and flew towards Edisha. Whoa, yeah, chase me. Just before escaping, Edisha stuffed the largest stone into the barrel of the gun, then ducked and took off, avoiding the man's sharp attack. I'm angry, you are more of a devil than a devil. I swear I won't be a human being until I catch you. This commander really got into trouble with Editha. Editha doesn't kill people, but she does small damage here and small pranks on this battlefield. Based on the comprehensive statistics, she alone caused a large number of casualties in the Xinbei Temple. How can I coddle her? She must be killed. But, I really can't catch it? Editha flew ahead, stopping from time to time, a little accommodating to the commander's age. Then pat the little butt and let him continue. After chasing for a long time, the commander was already dizzy. Edisha suddenly appeared behind him. The man turned around and pounced, but bumped into the troop's flag. The white general flag representing the Nobashiro temple collapsed, and the entire army went into an uproar. The general's flag has been captured and our army has been defeated. Run away quickly. The army was defeated like a mountain, and deserters appeared like a tsunami. I didn't mean it, it wasn't me. The commander's face was extremely pale, and he couldn't argue as he watched the general-marshal and the others, who were stronger than him, fly to the point where the flag was cut in two with a bad expression. Puff. The commander did nothing and was cut in half with a knife. It's so bad. Editha flew around the group of people as if watching the fun. The defeated marshal turned back and looked at Edisha calmly. Edisha stepped back a little, she was afraid that this person would suddenly catch her. It's impossible to be caught, this guy's strength is only at the star level. Edisha is a venerable. But she doesn't want to get caught, and in the game of ghost hunting, she loses if she gets caught. Unexpectedly, the general marshal did not arrest Edisha. He seemed to ignore her existence, but the veins on his forehead were bulging. How could he not know that what happened just now was caused by Edisha? But so what if he knew? No one could catch this kid. If it can be done, people have already done it in the previous battlefields. Edisha watched as the general marshal and others ignored her, fell to the ground, and began to rectify the defeated troops, explaining that the flag fell just now was not a matter of defeat. She was stunned for a while. What a smart man! He knows that he can't catch Edisha. Editha was not afraid and fell directly from the sky, following behind the Zinbei temple and the general marshal of the allied forces of the countries with foot on the earth. Little guy, don't be too arrogant. Another starry sky level master next to the general marshal couldn't help but turn around and look at Edisha, who was following suit, imitating them, clasping her hands behind her back and walking forward with her head held high. Don't be too arrogant. Editha imitated his example and pointed at the adjutant condescendingly. Don't argue with her, the marshal couldn't help but said. Okay. I won't argue with you, Edisha said before the adjutant could respond. At this moment, everyone around him frowned, and everyone's veins bulged. The naughty kid is so scary. A naughty kid with strength is even more terrifying. She doesn't take the initiative to hurt people, but she is enough to cause harm that is more terrifying than hurting people. Especially inside, how many people have been hurt? Countless people shot her, but she escaped, and she even flew directly into the enemy's base camp. Her majestic appearance hurt many people's hearts. When the general marshal returned to the camp, he thought that Edisha did not dare to follow into the confined space, but he did not expect that the little brat like Edisha also followed in. The general marshal gave a look, and the several starry sky level deputy commanders around him understood and immediately blocked the doorway. Even if the tent cannot protect against powerful masters, it is made of special materials, and even if it blocks it for an instant, it is still enough for them to take action. As if she hadn't seen it, Edisha jumped up to the chair where the marshal was sitting, and jumped onto another chair that was equal to it. More maturely, he grabbed the snacks on the table, stuffed them into his mouth and chewed them, like a little rabbit, extremely happy. It's so good. The marshal-in-chief couldn't help but give an order. But he endured it. Little girl, who are you? Edisha shook her little feet leisurely. Edisha is Edisha. Why do you want to help the army of immortal cultivators? He Edisha smiled and went to get the fruit again. If I don't tell you, you are bad people. No, those group of immortal cultivators are the bad guys who caused the destruction of all lives. Children, if you want to be a hero, you should cooperate with us and defeat the army of immortal cultivators. From now on, you will be the most powerful little hero in the world. The general marshal actually had the idea of taking Edisha under his command. Also, at such a young age, he was able to escape the pursuit of a large number of masters. Even if he was not a star-level master, he was definitely a young genius with a talent for escaping. In other words, genius is not enough to describe her. In the whole world, is there any master who is so powerful at the age of 5? I am afraid she has the blessing of the gods. Such talents must naturally be admitted to the Zinbei temple. Thinking of this, the marshal's smile became sincere. He thinks that he is too smart. If he conquers such a genius, he will be exempted from the punishment for his failure in this battle and even get credit. Not Edisha. Editha kicked the table over, startling everyone. She was flying in the air. You are bad people. You want Edisha to be a bad person too. You are so bad that Edisha will beat you. Do it. Seeing this scene, the general marshal knew that it could not be delayed any longer, and immediately gave the order. They couldn't get such a little genius, but they couldn't let the cultivator troops continue to have her to cause damage. The lieutenants who received the order jumped up and rushed toward Edisha. You are indeed a bad person. Adisha is so angry that she will beat you to death. Aditha was furious. I don't know how her three views were formed. She forced the Zinbei temple troops to this point and thought she was being bullied. Anyway, Adisha was angry. And the end of a strong man who has reached the middle level of venerable when he is angry is quite terrifying. Aditha also showed her combat effectiveness among the cultivators for the first time. Boom! The immortal cultivator troops fighting on the front line and the Zinbei temple troops simultaneously felt the situation in the rear of Zinbei temple, where the general flag had just fallen, and the general flag that had just been raised was once again knocked down by huge force. The shock wave was earth-shattering and created a circular mushroom cloud. The little figure rose into the sky, unhappy as it flew. Bad guys, Adisha will clean you up. Countless figures were rushed away by its power and thrown away. Countless people died on the way, and even those who didn't died were still angry. The general marshal and several of his lieutenants were of starry sky level strength. They were not killed in one blow, but they were smashed to pieces and suffered serious injuries. Afterwards, they were stunned to watch flying in the sky. A little figure with long hair flying around. Damn it! Didn't this little guy say he could only dodge? Why did it suddenly break out? And this power? It's not a starry sky level at all. But it seems that it has exceeded the starry sky level. No. It's a saint level powerful person. She is actually an old monster pretending to be immortal. Run away. The general marshal immediately realized that Adisha was the boss, yelled a few words, and fled backwards. It's okay if he doesn't say these words. I'm afraid Adisha won't look at him for a while, but after such a roar, Adisha jumped again. You scold Adisha? Adisha is only 5 years old. If you scold Adisha, Adisha will beat you. Adisha was so angry that she flew behind the general marshal, waved her small fist, and smashed the strong man's back with one punch. At the moment of the attack, the general marshal also released his defensive power, and a faint white light emerged, but it could not resist the black color on Adisha's fist and broke directly. Is this pure black divine power? The general marshal, whose vest was ripped open, turned around in disbelief and looked at Adisha, only to realize that he saw something unbelievable. You are, from the Black God cult. It's a few hundred words short. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, and it will refresh in half an hour. Countless people died on the way, and even those who didn't died were still angry. The general marshal and several of his lieutenants were of starry sky level strength. They were not killed in one blow, but they were shattered to pieces and suffered serious injuries. Afterwards, they were stunned to watch flying in the sky. A little figure with long hair flying around. Damn it! Didn't this little guy say he could only dodge? Why did it suddenly break out? And this power? It's not a starry sky level at all. But it seems that it has exceeded the starry sky level. No. It's a saint level powerful person. She is actually an old monster pretending to be immortal. Run away. The general marshal immediately realized that Adisha was the boss, yelled a few words, and fled backwards. It's okay if he doesn't say these words. I'm afraid Adisha won't look at him for a while, but after such a roar, Adisha jumped again. You scold Adisha? Adisha is only 5 years old. If you scold Adisha, Adisha will beat you. Adisha was so angry that she flew behind the general marshal, waved her small fist, and smashed the strong man's back with one punch. At the moment of the attack, the general marshal also released his defensive power, and a faint white light emerged, but it could not resist the black color on Adisha's fist and broke directly. Is this pure black divine power? The general marshal, whose vest was ripped open by the blast, turned around in disbelief and looked at Adisha, only to realize that he saw something unbelievable. You are, from the Black God cult. It's a few hundred words short. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe, and it will refresh in half an hour. Countless people died on the way, and even those who didn't died were still angry. The general marshal and several of his lieutenants were of starry sky level strength. They were not killed in one blow, but they were shattered to pieces and suffered serious injuries. Afterwards, they were stunned to watch flying in the sky a little figure with long hair flying around. Damn it! Didn't this little guy say he could only dodge? Why did it suddenly break out? And this power? It's not a starry sky level at all. But it seems that it has exceeded the starry sky level. No. It's a saint-level powerful person. She is actually an old monster pretending to be immortal. Run away. The general marshal immediately realized that Edissa was the boss, yelled a few words, and fled backwards. It's okay if he doesn't say these words. I'm afraid Edissa won't look at him for a while, but with such a roar, Edissa. Set a small goal first, such as remembering in 1 second, Shikiju mobile version reading website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2650. Rebirth of the giant mosquito in the Starry Sky novel, find the latest chapter. Xiaolin, tell me, Edissa did something wrong, how to punish her? Jia Yan deliberately teased Disha and left the decision of punishment to Jia Lin. Jia Lin was pouting and angry. She had been begging Jia Yan for a long time. Her brother was about to give up, but she didn't expect that Edissa was knocked out of the air inexplicably. Hearing what Jia Yan said, her eyes suddenly turned and lit up. Brother, why don't you ask Edissa to take us to fight? This will not only train our combat effectiveness, but also punish Edissa. It will also allow our castle women's fighting rangers to carry forward. How great! Castle girl fighting rangers. Jia Yan's head hurt when he heard this name. However, Jia Lin's request seems to be good. Anyway, these girls want to be released. The battle has not started in this country and area. What he is waiting for is for the girls in the castle to take revenge themselves. Edissa just happened to come to collect the punishment herself, so it would be better to let her take these girls with her, which would provide some security. Oh no, Edissa also needs to make suggestions for the battle on the immortal cultivator side. It seems that this little guy will have heavier tasks in the future, which can be regarded as one of the punishments. Okay, Edissa, I will punish you to lead the castle women's team into battle while commanding the cultivators. You must try to ensure their safety. Can you do it? Edissa can do it. Edissa immediately patted her chest. Brother, it's not the castle women's team, it's the castle women's fighting rangers. Jia Lin quietly corrected from the side. When I say women's team, I mean women's team, for short. Oh, okay. Jia Lin couldn't defeat Jia Yan, so she had to give in. But their goal was achieved. Jia Yan agreed to their action. Edissa has to lead new soldiers again. Edissa is so tired. Editha was helpless. Jia Yan ignored her and returned to the castle to rest without saying a word. These days, it seems that Jia Yan is just making overall plans on major battlefields and not doing anything at all, but his energy consumption is really quite big. The power of this body is only above that of the venerable. Compared with the real body, it is nothing compared to the real body. It is worn back and forth, and the power consumption is exaggerated. Naturally, it needs more rest. He rested, but the girls cheered with great energy. They were finally recognized and could go out to fight. Don't be too happy too early. My brother doesn't let you take action casually. If you lose or ask me and him to save me, you will definitely lose trust. Editha pointed arrogantly. Yes, my brother hates losers the most. We have to work hard and make sure we don't make the wrong step in the first step. You can tell us what to do next. I think we should go over and destroy the small town next door. That town always comes to the village to collect taxes. After hearing about us last time, it came to collect our taxes and said it would be 10 times as much. I also think so. The lord of this small town must be a great evil person. It is said that in this small town, there are many black believer sisters who became slaves. This city has little income, so it can only collect a large number of black believer sisters from other places, and then send them to various places around the world to make money. It's bad. Very. Go ahead, we will become stronger if we take in these sisters. The girls spoke to each other and decided on the next policy. As for whether they would encounter an siege or something like that, they assumed that the world today was in chaos, with many big cities closed to the outside, and some troops were lent to the Zinbei temple to go to the front-line battlefields. They should not be too surprised. Yes, let's do it this way. Recently, my strength has almost reached the peak of heaven level. I don't believe there are experts in that small town who can deal with me. Jialin is still confident in her own strength. She learned the pure black god power. Although she didn't know why her brother had such a pure black god power education method, she learned it anyway. Moreover, they also cultivated the joint fighting skills of these sisters. Jialin, who has seen the explosive strength of the warriors from the home planet Xinhe Kingdom after joining forces, believes that they are very strong. The next day, as soon as Jia Yan got up, he found the girls getting ready to go. Edisha flew behind the girls, cheering them on, "Come on, come on, come on. Edisha will not take action, Jia Yan will not allow it, otherwise it will be her performance alone." Then each girl rode on the tall horse they bought, put on the special armor for female knights, and set off in a hurry. No one bothered Jia Yan, because they all thought that this little fuss was not worth watching at all. But today, for the first time, Jia Yan had some time to be interested. So he flew right out of the window and followed him. Edisha tilted her little head several times and looked back behind her. She always felt that someone was observing her, but she couldn't see anyone. Then she thought it was an illusion and stopped paying attention. Jia Yan decided that in the future, Edisha should have more faith in the consciousness of the strong. Otherwise, if this situation happens again and the enemy is following her, she will be unlucky. "Little girls, where are you going? You're so murderous, aren't you going to play house again? Well, are you going to simulate that female night drill?" When passing by a small village, the people in the village were already accustomed to these girls passing by on horseback, fighting and killing each other. But the response this time was different. "Uncle has, we are going to attack the small town. Wish us success. Goodbye." All the girls were full of loyalty, and the horses' hooves beat loudly as they passed through the village streets. "Attack a small town, haha, I see, it's just for fun again, huh? What, attacking a small town can't be real, right? It's not good." The middle-aged man's expression immediately changed wildly, and he rushed towards the village chief's house. But without waiting for any reaction from the village, the girls arrived at a small city not far away on horseback. "Who? This is the cavalry. Stop quickly, we will attack if you don't stop." When the city guards at the city gate noticed this group of 20 cavalrymen, their expressions suddenly changed and they issued an ultimatum. "Kill." Jialin's girlish voice came out from under the armor mask in front of her, and her spear straightened up and pierced into the chest of the guard. "Enemy attack." The remaining guards finally understood that this was an enemy attack, screamed quickly, and prepared to lower the city gate. But it was already too late, the girls were as fast as lightning and stabbed into the small city. Not long after, a fighting force formed by Jialin, an intermediate heaven level or above, and a dozen or so earth level girls, made this small town without any masters go crazy. There were traces of corpses strewn all along the way. Jiolin has been on the front line on her home planet and has seen countless mountains of corpses and seas of blood. However, this group of girls who were originally kept in captivity in the temple can kill so decisively. I am afraid it is because of the treatment they received in the temple. Too miserable, I have seen too many causes of death. Killing people not only did not make them flinch and fear in their hearts, but on the contrary, it stimulated everyone's stronger fighting spirit. Wow, that's amazing. Adisha was a little surprised. In her eyes, these girls, whose strength was not worth mentioning, really entered the city lord's palace. Women, spare your lives. If you need anything, just tell me directly. As long as you can do it, this city lord will definitely satisfy you. The city lord was also a master at the beginning of the heaven level, but in front of Jiolin, who was almost at the peak of the heaven level, he was not enough to look at. He didn't resist for long and knelt on the ground, trembling as he looked at the group of detained city lord's mansion soldiers. You don't have to pay anything, I just need you to surrender. From now on, this city belongs to our women's team. Ah! The city lord was stunned. Just these dozen little girls broke into their city lord's mansion because they were unprepared. Otherwise, how could they be so virtuous and capable of breaking into a small town with a population of tens of thousands? With such a victory, you want to rule the city, but you want nothing to do with it? What? You don't want to? It's not that I refuse, but you should know that managing a city is not that simple. You have the strength, but your numbers are too small. The city lord wanted to say that you are just thinking out of your mind, but the words came to his lips and he could not say them out. People are like swords and fish, and I am like fish and meat. If he says that, he will definitely die. Forget it, let's do it first and then think of a solution later. Haha, our number is small. In fact, it's quite a lot anyway. As long as you are willing to surrender, we will have other people coming soon. Jiolin deliberately smiled heartily to hide her immature look of 12 or 13 years old. But the height of a dwarf and the body shape of a girl gave her away. The city lord wanted to say something else, but when he raised his eyes, he found the little girl floating in the air, looking at the little girl below with a half smile. The cute little girl is flying with a smile. This scene is quite strange. The city lord was startled, but his eyes quickly froze. He suddenly stared at the sky again. The more he looked, the more surprise and even fear appeared in his eyes. It turns out that Aditha's face has been familiar to all over the world since the Immortal Cultivators' War. This little girl has been causing trouble in the realm of immortal cultivators. She is called the Little Devil by people from all over the world. Moreover, the Zinbei Temple also issued a reward amount for her, and she climbed directly to this planet that day. The 10th largest bounty among all demons. Later, in the past few days, after Edisha killed the army led by the General Marshal in one breath, the reward amount reached the first place in the total amount, ranking first, even more than the next 9 people combined. Be high. Little devil. This. The city lord's face changed wildly, and his heart beat suddenly. You know, Adisha is on the other half of the planet, among the countries that have perished, each one is as big as the country under her feet. In other words, if this little devil sets his sights on this country, I am afraid that this country will be destroyed in minutes. I surrender. I surrender. You ladies, how about I manage the city? In addition, I also hope to become your subordinate. I have been frustrated in this country. I have the ability to command a larger city. If you believe it, please try me. This city lord was also considered a wonderful person, and he knelt down directly. Don't look at Edissa but look at the girls in front of you. He knew that the little devil's status was too high and his strength was too unpredictable, so it was better to have a good relationship with the girls in front of him. Since this elusive little devil can take care of these girls, I'm afraid the relationship between the two parties is extraordinary. So to please the girls in front of you is to please the little devil in disguise. Ah, okay, okay, since you abandoned the dark side and turned to the bright side, then you are smart, and we will definitely mention you in the future. Jialin was stunned and nodded directly. She found that her personal charm was still very high. Even the lord of a small city surrendered under her righteous words. Hum, did Adisha see it? Your sister, I am still a very powerful person, I see you will quarrel with me in the future. Jialin peeked at the sky absently, as if she wanted to demonstrate to Adisha. This man adapts to the changing circumstances. Adisha rolled her eyes. She could see that the city lord surrendered after seeing her figure. He didn't want to surrender before. She is a smart person. Although she is not very proficient in the ways of the world, she still understands that many people on the battlefield are easy to act according to the prevailing circumstances. The city lord typically adapts to the changing circumstances. Adisha also knows how to maneuver according to the wind. It is indeed right to let her lead a war zone by herself. Jia Yan also floated behind Adisha, but Adisha couldn't find it. The gap between the two sides was also huge. Maybe no one on this planet wants to believe that someone could crush the ghostly child who is called a little devil by the outside world. Of course, in the eyes of a domain lord like Jia Yan, Adisha is really just a fledgling little guy. Jia Yan praised Adisha for her gradual growth. Of course, at the same time, he also praised his sister for taking a city with more than 10 or 20 girls. Aditha flew down into the sky. Hurry up and prepare. The nearby cities will definitely join forces to attack you. And you, the city lord, since you have surrendered, quickly change the flag and let the city guards assist in the defense. Aditha shouted in the tone of a superior. Jialin wanted to say something, but looking back, Adisha was right. She endured it and did not blame Adisha for stealing her limelight. At the same time, Jialin vowed to study hard and seize these opportunities to be in the limelight in the future. The city lord and the women all reacted and quickly rushed to all directions of the city at the city lord's command. Many people in the city, who have not yet reacted, are. The master of the city has changed his mind. Adisha, don't be too happy. I will surpass you in a few days after I learn the skills of fighting. Jialin groaned angrily. Adisha pouted, no way, Adisha is better than you. Nonsense, you are only 5 years old, how can you be as powerful as an adult? I will surpass you in a few days. Impossible, Adisha is the most powerful. Adisha started jumping around, getting very angry. Jialin knows Adisha best and knows how to make her angry. Adisha, who was promoted as a little devil by the outside world and respected by everyone, was eaten to death in front of Jiali, who was not as strong and capable as her. It would be unimaginable to tell people. In order to facilitate reading next time, you can click collect below to record this reading record, Chapter 2598, The First Battle of the Women's Team. Happy Lantern Festival, and you can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. If you like Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Reborn as an Interstellar Giant Mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2651. Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky novel, find the latest chapter. Jia Yan had no interest in watching the fight between the little girls. He knew that this small town would soon face a series of attacks from Aditya, and then he tore apart the space with a smile and left the castle area. It just depends on whether my little sister can play tricks. Speaking of which, after he intervened in this little girl's life path, she was already a little different from the little girl he knew. His personality is much calmer. If a real little girl from the outside world had received the training and resources of the little girls in this world as early as her teenage years, she would probably have such a heroic spirit, right? Of course, Now that she has a family with children and grandchildren, it can't be said that things are not good now. Life is just about everyone's circumstances. Meet Mr. Jia Yan. How are you guys getting on lately? In an instant, Jia Yan flew into the city surrounded by a large army. The evil people who came out of the prison island were forced to a dead end in this area. At this time, Jia Yan appeared. How could they be unhappy? Our process of recruiting soldiers did not go smoothly, and reinforcements did not arrive so quickly. Jia Yan had instructed them to recruit soldiers, but these guys were empty-headed and had no ready-made skills to use, so they couldn't recruit many people. Several cities were originally captured, but now they are all lost, and they have become trapped in the city of sorrow, stuck in the only city. I have taught you the joint fighting method. Have you ever used it? Having used it, the joint strategy taught to us by your excellency is indeed wonderful. Originally, the other party had a great magician who was killed by our joint forces, so they did not dare to send any more masters to attack, otherwise our city would have fallen long ago. All the villains below looked at Jia Yan, wanting this mysterious young master to take action himself. But Jia Yan obviously had no intention of taking matters into his own hands. After he killed the young man who believed in the white god, he knew that this area was probably also being watched by some high-end white god forces. If he took action again, he would attract the white dolphins. Even if you have to take action, it must be at an important moment, otherwise you will be at a loss. Waste. Jia Yan snorted coldly and hit the kneeling man with a loud sound like a bell until he vomited blood and fell back. You two, one by one, enjoy the same treatment as the troops I command in other aspects, but you have done well in other aspects. As for you, you are almost destroyed, and now you still want me to take action personally? There is absolutely no way I would take action for you losers. Ah! The man was vomiting blood, but was stunned by Jia Yan's words. If Jia Yan didn't take action, they would probably be wiped out. Sir, how could this be done? It's right to rescue them from the prison island, but if they don't rescue them, although they won't have an easy time staying on the prison island, they can still survive at least. It's better now, he's going to die. Sir, please forgive us for our incompetence. We are all mindless guys. Please take into account our congenital flaws and spare our lives. This man said he had a bad mind, but in fact he was still good. When he spoke, he picked out favorable things to say. But what he said does make sense. Jia Yan looked around. They are all crooked old men with no useful brains. Adisha has been given to Jia Lin, who else can they ask to help them make suggestions? Let's do this. I'll call an immortal cultivator to help you, but you have to promise to listen to what others say. If you don't obey the orders, don't blame me for being ruthless. Yes. The masters on Prison Island who were sitting in Sleepy City almost cried with joy. Not to mention how strong the immortal cultivator scent was, just seeing that Jia Yan was still willing to help them showed that they had an unstoppable path. They were also discussing Jia Yan's strength secretly, guessing how strong it was, but even after thinking about it, they couldn't imagine how strong it was. In short, they are all at least saint level, that is, masters of the venerable level or above. With such a master in charge, as long as they are willing to help them, they don't have to worry about the army. If they are slapped out, half of the army besieging them outside will die. Jia Yan didn't care at all. He only made arrangements and secretly controlled the overall situation. If he really wanted to go out in person, he would not be able to win this small planet all at once. Unfortunately, he couldn't do this. He is playing a bigger game with the people on the White Dolphin side. Now, he is not yet ready for a head-on confrontation with Shirakama's army. Okay, you don't have to pretend. I'll bring you here right now. If you can't reach the point I want, I can abandon you at any time. Do you understand? Ming, understand. Jia Yan nodded and shuttled into the space. Not long after, he walked out of the space again, holding an old man's collar in his hand. "You guys who believe in the White Temple, I will stab you to death." The old man was holding a sword with sharp eyes, as if he was an enemy in front of him, and he struck down with one strike. With a bang, the sword thrust out, cutting open the building where it was located, and then split a long sword gang, then split the iron barrel-like city wall, and slashed at the senior officials of the Xinbei Temple coalition forces who were besieged outside. Puff. Immediately, large areas of people were killed, and the senior officials were also killed and injured. So fierce. The strong men who came out of the prison island were already strong enough, but this was the first time they saw such a fierce man. As expected, it was the helper brought by the adults, and he helped them out as soon as he showed up. "What's wrong with you?" Jia Yan was also stunned. At this moment, the old man Ping Cheng Lang Jun he was holding came back to his senses in panic. He was also stunned and looked in front of him in bewilderment. Wasn't I in a decisive battle with the master who believed in the Black Temple before? Why did you suddenly come here?" He turned around and found Jia Yan carrying him, and his expression changed wildly. "Meet the adults." "No need to meet. I'm sorry for disturbing you during the decisive battle. From now on, I'll leave it to others and you'll be in charge of the war here. These people don't have any brains. You don't have to take too many direct actions and teach them tactics. That's fine. As you get older, you should take a good rest." Jia Yan waved his hands dumbfounded. This Mr. Ping Cheng is probably really old and confused. "Okay, I will take my orders." Ping Cheng Lang Jun quickly accepted the order. Although he also wanted to say that there was a lot of pressure from the army of immortal cultivators. If he, the current top master, did not go, there might be trouble there. For example, the person he was fighting against just now was probably not much different from him in strength. He is a saint-level master. Jia Yan nodded. No matter what he thought, he once again disappeared in front of his strongest subordinate besides Edisha. This kind of strength is said to be the strongest under Edisha, but for Jia Yan, it seems that there is nothing to pay attention to. They are nothing more than bigger ants. Oh, by the way, he was fighting against the enemy just now, right? Forget it. If he can do his best, I'm afraid no one can deal with him except him, and the immortal cultivators can't suffer too many casualties. Join forces to fight. Now even if they join forces as a so-called pill-forming group, they can't defeat Hiragiro-kun, so they shouldn't be able to defeat his opponents either. Jia Yan thought for a while and realized that he had indeed disturbed the battle over there. Ever since, he turned around in the space and returned to the battlefield on the side of the immortal cultivators. "Where's Mr. Ping Cheng? Damn it, what kind of move is this?" On the battlefield of immortal cultivators, within 100 miles of the square and 1,000 miles of Red Cliff, a large number of casualties covered the area. Countless masters are using battle formations, magic, and many indescribable methods to create this area into a canyon of death. In the center of the battlefield, a terrifying master with astonishing magic power was suspended in mid-air vigilantly. Just now he was fighting with the Ping Cheng Lang Jun who was said to have disappeared from the world of immortality for hundreds of years and should have died long ago. Unexpectedly, Ping Cheng Lang Jun suddenly roared and disappeared from the place. He was shocked, because as a magician and someone who is extremely sensitive to space, he couldn't even feel how Hiragiro-kun left. Puff. An arm penetrated the chest of the holy magician easily. Done. He vaguely heard a young voice smiling from a certain space. But then he retracted his arm, and he didn't even have the strength to look back. His unbelievable eyes gradually lost their luster, and he fell from the sky. As a saint-level magician, he joined the battle this time just to see if there was anyone who could threaten him in the world of immortality. Don't say he thinks there isn't one. Even if there is, he can leave calmly. but he never expected that after meeting this legendary senior of the immortal cultivation world, he would be instantly killed within a few moves. Hiragiro-kun, I didn't expect that the person behind this incident was him, that senior. You may have a rival. The holy magician fell, dying beyond measure. The entire battlefield became so silent that you could hear a pin drop. Next, the 100-kilometer battlefield completely collapsed, and the defense of the Zinbei temple was no longer visible. This army of 1 million people, which had lost its backbone, no longer had any resistance. Jia Yan saw the scene in the space without any surprise. He knew that on the battlefield of the strong, after the death of the top combat power, the people below were basically panicked and retreated in a hurry. He heard the so-called holy magician muttering to himself before his death. That senior. Jia Yan looked at a certain direction thoughtfully, then shook his head. This bullshit senior is much weaker than the undercover young man he killed at Wuxinmen earlier. You know, this guy is the test left by Jia Yan for Edisha. As long as Edisha can kill this guy, it will be considered as passing Jia Yan's test. At least in this world, Edisha is no longer afraid of others except the real ones from White Dolphin. It also shows that when Edisha steps out of this space, she has a foundation, and it will be a little easier to cultivate her in the future. Yes, even if Edisha has reached the peak that this world can reach, over there in the galaxy, the Venerable is just a slightly stronger ordinary master. Not to mention in the eyes of the Domain Lord, even in the eyes of a semi-star level, it is an existence that can be easily crushed to death. It's useless to talk so far away. My battle with the White Dolphin and my grudge with Fairy Kun need to be resolved here. The matter of leaving must be done after these. Jia Yan smiled. The road must be walked step by step, and things must be done bit by bit. Otherwise, leap forward wishful thinking will only do bad things. Okay, it's time for the intelligence department to test out a few major planets. Jia Yan smiled slightly and shuttled again, arriving at the original destination where he had to deal with matters today. That's the largest port city on the entire planet. At the same time, it is also the headquarters of the intelligence department controlled by Hiroshi Hijo. However, after Mr. Ping Cheng returned to Jia Yan, the organization changed its face overnight and became a different owner. They have stopped taking as much business as possible and only serve Jia Yan. They are extremely busy because they are required to carry out intelligence investigations on every battlefield. Grown-ups. Meet the adults. Jia Yan walked straight out of the space and came to the hotel-like lobby. He was immediately greeted by the exclamations of several female waiters. At the same time, inside the hotel, several extremely powerful beings flew over quickly. They were the senior officials who were in contact with Jia Yan. Well, let them sit here. Jia Yan casually walked into the information exchange hall. Because there were no guests, the place became empty. Come to Cheateon.com to subscribe. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour, not to mention in the eyes of the domain master, even in the eyes of the semi-star level, it is an existence that can be easily crushed to death. It's useless to talk so far away. My battle with the White Dolphin and my grudge with Fairy Kun need to be resolved here. The matter of leaving must be done after these. Jia Yan smiled. The road must be walked step by step, and things must be done bit by bit. Otherwise, leap forward wishful thinking will only do bad things. Okay, it's time for the intelligence department to test out a few major planets. Jia Yan smiled slightly and shuttled again, arriving at the original destination where he had to deal with matters today. That's the largest port city on the entire planet. At the same time, it is also the headquarters of the intelligence department controlled by Hiroshi Hijo. However, after Mr. Ping Cheng returned to Jia Yan, the organization changed its face overnight and became a different owner. They have stopped taking as much business as possible and only serve Jia Yan. They are extremely busy because they are required to carry out intelligence investigations on every battlefield. Grown-ups. Meet the adults. Jia Yan walked straight out of the space, and arriving inside the hotel-like lobby, we were immediately greeted by the exclamations of several female waiters. At the same time, inside the hotel, several extremely powerful beings flew over quickly. They were the senior officials who were in contact with Jia Yan. Well, let them sit here. Jia Yan casually walked into the information exchange hall. Because there were no guests, the place became empty. Come to Kidian to subscribe. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour. Come to Kidian to subscribe. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour. Come to Kidian to subscribe. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour. Come to Kidian to subscribe. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour. This chapter will become a normal chapter in half an hour. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click collect below to record this reading record. Chapter 2599, Starting Intelligence Investigations on Other Planets. Come to Kidian to subscribe, and you can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. If you like Rebirth of the Giant Mosquito in the Starry Sky, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support.